Beginning with a gentle golden wind and light rain, the master of ceremonies, with a single stroke, surprises the world. This video is purely for entertainment, and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting, and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76 Betrayals, pierced through with one finger. Hearing this, Yang Muchen fell into deep thought. Yang Ji's words made some sense. Where is Su Chen now? Su Chen should still be in the Su mansion, but my subordinates had found out that Su Chen may be returning to Shangate. Keep a close eye on him. As soon as he leaves King Cheng, I will personally capture Su Chen. I believe he will tell me everything at that time. You should personally monitor this matter, so as not to leak the news, and let Su Chen run away. Yang Muchen ordered. Understood. I'll go now. Yang Ji nodded and separated from Yang Muchen. In the afternoon, Bei Xianyu and Bei Chao flew back to Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Su Chen told the two of them what he had guessed. My lord, don't worry. I have checked the strength of Lu Xiangxing. He is not his opponent, but he can protect himself. Bei Xianyu said. He is now practicing the three swords of the Abyssy Road, and his own strength is constantly improving. Once it really comes to a life and death duel, Lu Xiangxing will definitely be seriously injured when he captures him. He believes that Lu Xiangxing will never dare to do this, because once he was injured, he couldn't leave at all. Then Bei Chaofei, you secretly escort me to Lingnan County. Bei Xianyu was able to deal with Lu Xiangxing, so he felt relieved. King Cheng is their base for the time being, and they can't lose it. Deputy Building Masterling, you secretly investigate the clues of Zihanayu. I want to know what they have been doing in King Cheng all these years. Su Chen ordered. Only by knowing what to do, can we make further inferences. Subordinates, I will definitely find out the purpose of their coming here. Ling Xian hurriedly took the order. After giving these instructions, Su Chen left from the secret room, and returned to the Su mansion. Uncle Fu, this mansion will be handed over to you first. I will return to Shanmen today. After returning to the mansion, Su Chen called Uncle Fu and told him that he was going to return to Shanmen. Then young master, I will prepare a horse for you. Uncle Fu made arrangements immediately. This news was also heard by Yang Ji, who was monitoring outside the Su mansion. He quickly returned to Yang Muchen's manor. You said Su Chen is going to leave for Shanmen. Yang Muchen said. Yes, the Su mansion has prepared a horse for him. Yang Ji said. Okay, then we will wait for him outside the city. Yang Muchen said. I'm afraid you can't go. At this time, a young man in white appeared at the door of the hall. The young man stood there, giving people a sense of aloofness. Who are you? Seeing this man, Yang Muchen's eyes condensed, and his pupils shrank sharply. He didn't sense the footsteps outside the door. His strength has reached the level of refining the spirit, and he has a keen perception of external sounds. But the other party just stepped in like this, and he didn't sense it at all. The other party's strength is definitely not simple. I'm Bei Chaofei, from Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. The young man dressed in white stepped into the hall and said, Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, how can Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower have a master like you? Yang Ji, who was next to Yang Muchen, said in disbelief. Bei Chaofei didn't look at the other party and continued to step forward. A pressure coming in the face made Yang Ji, who had spoken earlier, feel like his throat was being grabbed. I don't know why you are here, Yang Muchen said, but a panic rose in his heart. At this moment, he sensed an extremely dangerous feeling from the other party. I'm here to send you off. Bei Chaofei's voice was very calm, but it revealed a fierce killing intent. The suppressed Yang Ji couldn't help but sweat dripping down his forehead. He wanted to speak, but the airflow suppressed his throat. He couldn't make a sound at all. He felt aggrieved. Don't small minions have the right to speak? Yang Muchen on the other side was shocked. It seems that we have not offended you, nor have we offended Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. He hurriedly said. You haven't offended me, nor have you offended Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, but you have provoked the young master. Bei Chaofei looked at Yang Muchen and said. Young master? Young master of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Yang Muchen's face condensed, and then his face changed. Su Chen, the young master you are talking about is Su Chen. He opened his eyes wide, hoping that his guess was false. Yes, Chen is the young master of our Jinfengxiaoyu Tower, and also the highest ruler of Jinfengxiaoyu Tower. Bei Chaofei didn't mind telling the other party this. Yang Ji, whose throat was pressed, heard this and his eyes became unbelievable and extremely horrified. As for Yang Muchen, when he was horrified, he kicked the ground with his feet and his body suddenly rushed out. He slapped Bei Chaofei with a palm, and the violent power in his palms warmed out. Bei Chaofei said Su Chen's name. That means it is impossible to spare their lives, so he has to fight to the death and fight a way out for himself. Interesting. Bei Chaofei looked at the person who came to clap his hands, and a strange color flashed in his eyes. Under his momentum suppression, Yang Muchen was still able to take action, which was indeed extraordinary. No matter what, his current strength is in the soul refining realm, and Yang Muchen is at most in the middle stage of the spirit refining realm. But he will not hold back. His eyes turned cold, and his right hand was raised, and then he saw a finger wind passing through the violent energy, and appeared above Yang Muchen's head. Swish! A ray of light passed through. Yang Muchen, who was rushing forward, paused, with his eyes wide open. He didn't expect that he would suddenly attack. The other party just raised his hand, and pointed a finger. He didn't even see this finger. His head was pierced. Plop! His body fell to the ground. A stream of blood flowed out from the finger hole between his eyebrows, with some white brain matter in it. On the other side, when Bei Chaofei attacked, Yang Ji broke free from the remaining breath suppression, and turned to flee towards the inner hall. The master is dead. What use is there for me to stay? Bei Chaofei's body turned into a residual image, and appeared in front of Yang Ji. Seeing this, Yang Ji punched out, but his fist missed, and hit the residual image. He wanted to fight back, but a finger had already pierced his heart. Swish! The finger was pulled out, and Yang Ji fell to the ground, with blood constantly flowing from his heart. After dealing with these two people, Bei Chaofei cleared everyone in the manor. Soon, the things in the manor were reported to the city lord's mansion. What did you say? You said Yang Muchen was killed. Chen Yang looked at the housekeeper in front of him and asked sternly. Yes, someone pierced his head with finger energy. Not only young Master Yang, but everyone else in the mansion was killed in one blow. The housekeeper said in horror. Come on, take me to see. Chen Yang seemed very anxious. Yang Muchen had visited him today. Now he was killed. This brought him a great crisis. He had to go and investigate in person. Soon, he brought people to Yang Muchen's mansion. After seeing the scene of the killing, Chen Yang's face changed drastically. It was a master of finger energy. There was no chance of resistance. Why did so many masters suddenly come to King Chen? Quickly inform the head of the Yang family about what happened here. Chen Yang ordered. Since the incident in Jinfengxiaoyu Tower, King Chen was completely out of his control. Chapter 77 Cooperation. County government figures. Take all these bodies away and put them at the charity cemetery first. Chen Yang ordered. Then he looked a little lonely. The Qin family, the Yang family, and Yan Shu all died in King Chen. He would not be the mayor of King Chen for long. He had wanted to make further progress with the help of the Yang family, but now he has pushed himself. I can't just sit and wait for death. Chen Yang thought to himself. Oh, right, let's go to the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. The Golden Wind and Rain Tower is the current ruler of the King Chen martial arts world. As long as I help the Golden Wind and Rain Tower to connect with the people in the county government and let them become the power of the county government, I will not lose my position as the mayor. What's more, Bei Xianayu is a strong man in the soul refining realm. He should have friends who are strong in the soul refining realm. Chen Yang thought to himself. He turned around and left directly, heading towards the direction of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. He wanted to meet Bei Xianayu and find out from him. Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Chen Yang was a little surprised to come to Ling Xian in person. Earlier, he had received a hint from the housekeeper of the Cheng mansion that he had to hand over some benefits to the Golden Wind and Rain Tower, and he was thinking about how to deal with it. Of course, he had to hand it over, but he hadn't decided how much to hand it over yet. The Golden Wind and Rain Tower was planning the county government, and money was very important. How could the spies work hard for you to get intelligence without paying? As the saying goes, money makes the devil work. Unexpectedly, he hadn't gone yet. This Chengyang mansion master came to the Golden Wind and Rainy Rain Tower. Just as he was thinking about meeting Chen Yang, a message was sent in. Yang Muchen of the Yang family and the county government was killed. A finger pierced his head. Could it be that person who did it? Ling Xian was shocked, and he roughly guessed who did it. Chen Yang just came over there. Could it be? Ling Xian pondered. He was good at capturing intelligence, and he seemed to understand something, smiled on his face, and walked out. In the hall, Chen Yang was drinking tea. After Ling Xian entered the room, he immediately stepped forward and saluted, meeting Master Cheng. I wonder if Master Cheng has any instructions for coming to Jinfeng Xiao Tower in person? I want to see the Master Bei. Chen Yang said. Okay, I'll take you to see the Master. Ling Xian led Chen Yang to Bei Xianai's room. Bei Xianai was sitting cross-legged in the room at this time. In his sea of consciousness, a series of knife shadows appeared. He was simulating the 3 knives of the Abbacy path. When Ling Xian and Chen Yang came to the door, the two were locked by a knife intent like hell, and their whole bodies trembled. Chen Yang's eyes were filled with horror. Inside the house, Bei Xianai sensed the arrival of the two. The simulated knife moves in his body quickly disappeared. Ling Xian recovered his mind and knocked on the door. Master Chen Yang is here. Please come in. Bei Xianai stood up. Ling Xian pushed the door and led Chen Yang into the hall. I didn't expect that Master Chen Yang is also a martial artist in the soul refining realm. I really didn't expect it. Bei Xianai looked at Chen Yang and said. Just now when Chen Yang was locked by the sword intent, the ki in his body flowed, allowing Bei Xianai to sense Chen Yang's strength. Master Bei, you are joking. With my strength, I'm afraid that I can't take the sword you just slashed. Chen Yang said. He was secretly glad that he didn't join forces with Mr. Musan. If the two of them joined forces, they would probably be killed together. At this time, Chen Yang was also looking at Bei Xianai. Bei Xianai had a momentum, an extraordinary momentum. This momentum was not the momentum of living in seclusion in the mountains and forests, but a momentum of commanding a party. It seems that the news that came out earlier should be false. This Bei Xianai's identity is definitely not simple. Maybe he may be a secret force. Chen Yang thought to himself. Master Chen Yang, please sit down. Bei Xianai invited Chen Yang to sit down. This time I came here, mainly to cooperate with Master Bei, Chen Yang said after sitting down. Hearing this, Bei Xianai's expression was slightly startled, but Ling Xian beside him understood what was going on. At this time, Ling Xian stepped forward and said, Master, I just got the news that Yang Muchen of the Yang family was killed, and Lord Cheng came from the Yang mansion. But Lord Cheng, this seems to have nothing to do with our Jinfeng Xiao Tower. Ling Xian said, of course I know that this matter has nothing to do with your building. I came here mainly for myself. Now the Yang and Qin families of the county government, as well as the son of the commander Yanshu, have died in Qingcheng. My position as the Lord of Qingcheng is in danger, so I want to cooperate with Lord Bei. I was a little nervous before, but after seeing Lord Bei, I believe that our cooperation will be very successful. Chen Yang said. Lord Chen can talk about it. Bei Xianai said in a deep voice. The rivers and lakes and the officialdom, in their world, are separate. But in this world, they are closely connected. The forces of the rivers and lakes affect the forces of the officialdom, and the officialdom also affects the forces of the rivers and lakes. They are inseparable. Chen Yang, the city lord of Qingcheng, has actually stepped into the realm of soul refining. Bei Xianai did not dare to underestimate the great Zhao dynasty at all. I have some connections with Lord Li Wei, the left governor of Lingnan County, and I can introduce you to Lord Li Wei. With the support of Lord Li Wei, I believe that Jinfeng Xiao Tower will definitely become a force in the county. Of course, to be stationed in the county, Jinfeng Xiao Tower needs to dispatch a soul refining realm expert. Chen Yang said. Now he wants Jinfeng Xiao Tower to show its strength. No problem, I have a friend in the county. He can become the owner of the branch of Jinfeng Xiao Tower in Lingnan County. Bei Xianai said. He had met Bei Chaofei before. He was a man who was unwilling to be ordinary, with a cold personality and meticulous mind. He was the most suitable person to be the owner of Jinfeng Xiao Tower in Lingnan County. Hearing Bei Xianyu's words, Chen Yang smiled. As long as there is a second strong man in the soul refining realm, plus Bei Xianyu's battle record, introduce them to Lord Li Wei. I believe Lord Li Wei will protect him. Okay, I'll go back now and send a letter to the Lingnan County government overnight. Chen Yang stood up, clasped his fists and left. After he left, Bei Xianyu said, give me a copy of the information about the left Governor Li Wei. Yes. Ling Xian quickly sent the information of the left Governor Li Wei to Bei Xianyu. The most important person in Lingnan County is the county magistrate, who is in charge of all government affairs, and below him are the left and right governors, who can be said to be the second in command in Lingnan County. Li Wei, the left governor of Lingnan County, is in charge of money, grain, and taxes. He has more real power than the right governor who is in charge of population and civil affairs. As for the Northern Pacification Division of Lingnan County, it belongs to the central agency of the Great Zhao, and is under the management of the Northern Pacification Division of the capital. Bei Xianyu looked at the information of Li Wei. He was deep in thought. Li Wei has been in the position of the left governor of Lingnan County for 40 years. He can be said to be one of the representatives of the local forces in Lingnan County. If used well, it can indeed help Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower take root in Lingnan County. But I'm afraid that its development will be restricted. Because once you enter a circle, you will be constrained by the circle. People who break the constraints will often be attacked by the crowd. Send this news to the master quickly. Bei Xianyu instructed Ling Xian. And what's the situation at the Yang family? Bei Xianyu asked afterwards. It should be Lord Bei Chaofei who did it. Ling Xian said. Okay, I got it. Bei Xianyu nodded. Chapter 78, The Hero, Unwilling to be Lonely. Night fell. Su Chen stopped at an inn on the official road. A waiter in the inn took the reins from Su Chen's hand very quickly and led the horse to the backyard. Give me a room upstairs. Su Chen ordered. One upstairs room. The waiter shouted immediately. Another waiter immediately stepped forward and took Su Chen into the inn. Sir, do you need anything else? The waiter said. I'll go downstairs to eat something later. Su Chen said. The waiter bowed and left, closed the door and left. At this time, a figure rushed in from the window. It was Bei Chaofei who followed Su Chen. Master, Yang Muchen wanted to attack the master, and I cleared them out. Bei Chaofei bowed and reported. Hearing Bei Chaofei's words, Su Chen's expression slightly condensed. Why would they attack me? It seems that they were commissioned by the Qin family to investigate the cause of death of Qin Hao and Qin Xianhan. Yang Ji, who was beside Yang Muchen, suspected you. So he has been investigating outside the Su mansion. He knew about your return to Shan Gate, so he reported it to Yang Muchen. They were going to attack you when you left the city. I got rid of them using the shocking finger. I believe they will turn their attention to the finger master. Bei Chaofei said. In this case, you may be exposed. Su Chen said in a deep voice. My lord, I'm determined to dominate the world, in my previous life and now. Bei Chaofei said. Hearing Bei Chaofei's words, Su Chen couldn't help but think that among the heroes, Bei Chaofei is definitely not inferior to Su Mengzhen and Wang Xiaoshi. He is a treacherous hero who can stir up the world. Such a person is not suitable to be a shadow behind the scenes. It seems that we have to quickly take down Times Hall and let Bei Chaofei sit in the county government to show his skills. Su Chen thought so. Suddenly, a bird flew in from outside and landed in front of Su Chen. Su Chen took down the thin bamboo under the bird's feet and pulled out the letter inside. Seeing the content inside, Su Chen handed the letter to Bei Chaofei. Bei Chaofei took a look, clenched his palm, and the letter turned into powder. Xian Setang and Zeduobu Zhengxi Li Wei are doing it at the same time. Tomorrow when I arrive at the county government, I will go directly back to Shan Gate, and you will go directly to the county government. Once Ling Xian and the others give you news, you will go to see that Li Wei. Su Chen ordered. I understand. Bei Chaofei nodded, then left from the window. Of course, he was also in this inn. Su Chen pushed open the door and walked downstairs. Eat something and return to the room to practice. Below the inn, some merchants and warriors have already sat down, mostly merchants. If you can go to King Cheng later, go later. Now King Cheng has changed. A man dressed as a merchant said. King Cheng has changed. What happened? A slightly fat man who was about to go to King Cheng asked immediately. King Cheng used to have 5 forces, but now it has become 2, leaving only Jinfeng Xiao Tower and Jinggang Temple. Jinggang Temple does not care about the affairs in King Cheng. Now King Cheng is managed by Jinfeng Xiao Tower. If you go to King Cheng, you should register at Jinfeng Xiao Tower first. Didn't the owner of Jinfeng Xiao Tower be killed? Why is there only Jinfeng Xiao Tower left? Someone asked curiously. Ling Xian, the deputy owner of Jinfeng Xiao Tower, invited a master from somewhere and sat in Jinfeng Xiao Tower, destroying Juxin Hall and Lei Hall in one fell swoop. Now Jinfeng Xiao Tower has changed its owner, and it is not the previous Jinfeng Xiao Tower. The man replied. In that case, we have to go to pay our respects first. What is the fee that Jinfeng Xiao Tower charges us merchants? Some merchants are concerned about this. This is a phenomenon in the Great Zhao dynasty now. When you go to various cities to trade, you need to pay a certain amount of tax to the government, but you also need to give a share of money to the underworld forces in your area. I don't know the specific pricing. I just sold the goods and thought about waiting for others to explore the way first. The man said. Well, I hope they won't increase their revenue too much, otherwise, it will be difficult for us. One person said. In this world, the status of merchants is only slightly better than that of ordinary civilians. I'm in a hurry to sell this batch of goods, so I have to hurry. I can only help you explore the way first. One person said. At this time, on a table not far away, a young man in brocade clothes said to the old man next to him, "Is there any news from Yang Muchen?" "No news." The old man next to him said. For such a long time, Yang Muchen hasn't found any clues, and he still wants to marry Qin Yao's cousin. It's wishful thinking. The young man said coldly, "Uncle Chen, what do you think about us going directly to King Cheng and cooperating with Jinfeng Xiao? With their strength, they should be able to find some clues." The old man beside him, called Uncle Chen, shook his head and said, "Master, we are just here to receive information. It's best not to take risks. The other party killed Master Qin Hao and Master Xianhan, and they may have a grudge against our Qin family. If they know that you are going there, once the other party wants to kill us, we can't leave King Cheng." The old man expressed his worries. "But waiting like this is not a good idea," the young man said impatiently. At this time, outside the inn, a man rushed in and saw the 2 people eating at the table. He immediately trotted over and whispered a few words in the old man's ear. The old man's face changed, waved his hand, and the man left quickly. "Master, something has happened. Master Yang Muchen was killed, and none of the people he brought with him survived. He was killed with one blow." From the news sent back, the other party was a master of finger use. Now the 3rd master of the family and Elder Wu of the Blood Flag sect are preparing to go to King Cheng. The old man said in shock. "What did you say?" The young man in brocade clothes changed his face, and a trace of cold sweat appeared on his forehead. "Uncle Chen, should we return to the county government overnight?" Although he just said that he would enter King Cheng, he didn't dare to do it now. He was afraid that Yang Muchen was killed because he investigated the cause of death of Qin Hao and others. "Master, we can't go back now. The 3rd master and Elder Wu are here. We can only wait for people here and go to King Cheng with them when the time comes. If the young master can be favored by Elder Wu and join the Blood Flag sect, it will be a great opportunity for you, young master," Uncle Chen said. "But we don't know much about King Cheng, so we can't attract attention." "That's okay. We won't go into King Cheng ourselves, but we can arrange for someone to go into King Cheng and buy information from Jinfeng Xiao Tower," that Chen Bo said. Hearing this, the young man in brocade clothes regained some calmness, nodded, ate something simple, and left the table. At the table next to them, Su Chen's expression changed slightly. He didn't expect to meet someone from the Qin family here. He also knew that the 3rd elder of the Qin family and the Wu elder of the Blood Flag sect were preparing to come to King Cheng to investigate the cause of death of Qin Hao and others. "I don't know how strong these 2 people are. Should we solve them in advance?" Su Chen thought to himself. Bei Chaofei made a move and left traces. As long as Bei Chaofei uses the shocking finger in the future, he will be discovered. It's a matter of sooner or later. What's more, the two parties have already made enemies, and it should be difficult to reconcile. Now there may be a chance to weaken the opponent's strength and let Bei Chaofei kill these two people. In this way, Bei Chaofei will be famous in Lingnan County before he officially appears. Once he officially appears, his momentum will definitely be even greater. Chapter 79 Investigation, Interception. He had to attack, but Bei Chaofei's strength was at the early stage of the soul refining realm. The Blood Flag sect and the Mountain and River sect were both among the 10 major sects in Lingnan, and their strengths were similar. The elders of the Mountain and River sect were at the early stage of the soul refining realm. It can be known that the third elder of the Qin family and the elder Wu of the Blood Flag sect were at least at the early stage of the soul refining realm. We need to investigate the strength of these two people first, Su Chen thought to himself. After that, he simply ate something and returned to his room. Bei Chaofei was already in Su Chen's room. Go and keep an eye on the people of the Qin family and send a letter to Ling Xian, asking him to send the information of the third elder of the Qin family and an elder surnamed Wu from the Blood Flag sect. Su Chen said. Understood. Bei Chaofei nodded and left. Su Chen sat cross-legged on the bed, swallowing the Qi and blood pill, circulating the Vajra Hunyu engine, and tempering his body. He had already practiced the Mountain and River Gong of the Mountain and River sect to the 4th level. There is no 5th level cultivation formula, so he did not practice the Mountain and River technique, but practiced the physical body technique, which, combined with the hard technique, can also burst out powerful lethality. Physical training is also a process of continuous accumulation. The next day, early in the morning, Su Chen woke up from his practice. In the first half of the night, he practiced the physical body technique, and in the second half of the night, he practiced the family's unique skills, the complete golden wind and rain power, but this technique is average. Otherwise, his father would not only be at the peak of the innate. Get up from the bed. There was a knock on the door outside. Su Chen opened the door, and Bei Chaofei walked in from outside wearing a bamboo hat. My lord, there is a message from King Chen. The third elder of the Qin family is named King Chen, and his strength is in the early stage of soul refining. He practices the Qin family's family technique, the red blood palm. The elder from the Blood Flag sect is named Wu Ming, and his strength is only in the early stage of soul refining. He practices the Blood Flag sect, the Blood Flag 13 styles, and the Blood Flag wind and cloud power. Bei Chaofei took off his bamboo hat after entering the door. Early stage of soul refining. It was almost the same as Su Chen guessed. Both of them are in the early stage of soul refining. I wonder if you can handle them. Su Chen looked at Bei Chaofei and said. Bei Chaofei is very talented. Such people are naturally gifted and generally belong to transcendent existence among the same level. But we should not underestimate the warriors of this world. Master, don't worry. As long as they are not in the middle stage of soul refining or above, I'm sure to kill them. Bei Chaofei's cold and arrogant face showed a confident look. Is that so? Then kill him on the road. Su Chen said. The nearest official road from Lingnan County to Qingcheng is the Nanking Post Road they are taking now. It passes through a broken yin road, where the dense forest is lush and suitable for attack. Let's go. Su Chen and Bei Chaofei ate something casually in the inn, and left the inn on horseback. Don't miss the best route for killing. At this time, in Lingnan County, two fast horses galloped away from the city. One of them was wearing a green long gown, thin, and looked about 40 years old. The other man was wearing the clothes of an elder of the Blood Flag sect, carrying a blood flag on his back. His face was a little rough, and his blood and energy were surging. Isn't that King Chen, the third elder of the Qin family? And that's Elder Wu of the Blood Flag sect. Where are they going? Some people at the city gate looked at the two people who were galloping away and couldn't help asking. They should be going to Qingcheng. The third young Master Qin and the second young Master Qin were killed in Qingcheng. Some people whispered. This second young Master Qin is the young master of the Blood Flag sect, and he was also killed. Some people said in shock. What's this? Even the deputy commander of the Northern Pacification Division, Li Xin, was killed, and the third young Master Yan also died in Qingcheng. A person next to him whispered. Some people who didn't know the news were shocked when they heard the news. Nanking Post Road is the main road from Lingnan County to Qingcheng. pedestrians, escort agencies, and caravans travel on this official road. However, seeing these two galloping horses, they all gave way. In this world, warriors make people give way. The two men galloped for a while and slowed down a bit. Brotherkin, there was news from the Yang family, but they didn't send anyone there, which is very strange. Wu Ming from the Blood Flag sect in front asked. Now in Qingcheng, not only the Hanyu sect has appeared, but also other dark forces have appeared. The Yang family wants us to take the lead. As long as we arrive in Qingcheng for one day, they will also send people there one day later. Qin Chen said coldly. This Yang family is really good at calculating, but no wonder the Yang family has declined so much in recent years, and there is no courage of warriors at all. Wu Ming said disdainfully. After the two chatted, they drank some water and continued to ride forward. The speed was so fast that they didn't care about the pedestrians on the road at all. Soon, they appeared on a gloomy forest road. Suddenly, the two of them pulled the reins at the same time. The sound of horses neighing rang out on the road, and there was only one person standing on the road, wearing a bamboo hat and wrapped in a wide black robe. There was no one else here. The people who were on the road earlier, seeing a man in black robe standing on the roadside, all fled in a hurry and told others not to move forward for the time being or to take a detour. This kind of thing is very normal in this world. Fighting between warriors is very common, so many people are very sensible to avoid accidentally hurting them. At this time in the dark, Su Chen restrained his breath and stared closely at the situation on the official road. At this time, he was also wearing a cloak and black clothes. He could watch the fight between the strong men in the soul refining realm, but he could not participate. He dared to charge at the soul refining realm, but if he rushed at the soul refining realm, he would be beaten to death. So now he can only rely on Bei Chaofei alone. The two people who stopped their horses looked at Bei Chaofei standing in the middle of the road. Who are you? What do you mean by stopping us? Wu Ming of the Blood Flag sect looked at Bei Chaofei and said in a deep voice. While speaking, his right hand had already grasped the blood flag behind him. On the other side, Qin Chen's eyes were emitting dangerous light as he looked at Bei Chaofei wearing a bamboo hat. My coming here is very simple, just to take the lives of the two of you. Bei Chaofei said. He did not lower his voice, but used his normal voice. From his voice, it can be heard that he is very young. Why did he do this? That is because Bei Chaofei wanted to make the other party feel contempt. Here to kill us, we have no grudge against you. Wu Ming looked very calm. Although he roughly knew the reason why the other party appeared, he still wanted to confirm it. You shouldn't go to Qingcheng. While speaking, Bei Chao flew. Bang! A pit exploded in the ground under his feet, and he turned into a phantom and rushed directly towards Wu Ming and the other person. He extended two-finger key from his fingers, but the target of the attack was not the two people, but the two horses under them. Swish! Swish! The speed was so fast that it directly pierced through the heads of the two horses. The two horses roared and then fell to the ground. Wu Ming and Qin Chen jumped on the horses and flew directly from the horses. Wu Ming flew out and grasped the blood flag behind him. His blood flag was just an ordinary weapon, which could not be compared with Qin Shianhan. He went to Qingcheng not only to avenge Qin Shianhan, but also to retrieve the weapon level blood flag that Qin Shianhan had lost. With the blood energy unleashed, the spear tip on the blood flag attacked Bei Chaofei's head. On the other side, Qin Chen's figure turned into a blurry figure, flying towards Bei Chaofei. His palms turned into claws, and one claw grabbed Bei Chaofei's head. Chapter 80, Three Fingers Flick the Sky, Fierce Fight. The palm of his hand was bloody, and blood was entangled between his 5 fingers, revealing a sharp aura. The two cooperated very well, but Bei Chaofei, who had made the move, suddenly turned around and quickly retreated behind him. He had previously aimed at the horse, and the route of the two's moves was within his expectations. In fact, he also reserved the force used in the violent shooting. His figure retreated, causing the previous attack of the two to fail. The two fell down, staring at Bei Chaofei. Together, take him down, Wu Ming said to Qin Chen. While speaking, his blood and ki swelled, and blood and ki entangled his body. The blood flag in his hand pointed at Bei Chaofei. If the other party wanted to kill them, they would not do it one-on-one like others. Instead, they would try their best to take down Bei Chaofei and find out Bei Chaofei's details. Bang! He kicked the ground with his foot, and his broad figure suddenly pounced on Beichalfi. The blood flag in his hand waved, covering Beichalfi's eyes, but the cold spear tip was unusually sharp. The key flowed, trying to suppress Beichalfi's movements. From the action just now, Beichalfi's body movement must be extraordinary. On the other side, Chen also made a move. His palm was red, and a violent blood energy emanated from his body, causing the air to vibrate continuously. His figure turned into a blood shadow and attacked Beichalfi. Not only was the move domineering, but the speed was also very fast. The two people's attack coordination was quite tacit. Although they wanted to take down Beichalfi, they would not give Beichalfi the opportunity to counterattack and hurt people. What a strong offensive. Chen, who was watching the battle in the dark, said in his heart. Now it depends on how Beichalfi will make a move. He believes in Beichalfi's confidence. At this time, Beichalfi also moved, and his black cloak and black robe suddenly flew out of him and went towards Wu Ming, who was attacking. It covered the tip of his gun, temporarily blocking Wu Ming's sight, and his body moved away from the tip of the gun. At the moment of moving away from the tip of the gun, his body suddenly turned and rushed out violently, heading towards Chen. Three-finger sky shooting, breaking evil. Beichalfi directly used the three-finger sky shooting, and the first finger directly touched the palm of the bloody palm. All his own surging power was concentrated between this finger, and the power of the fingertips penetrated the blood and collided, and touched the palm of Chen. Swish! A blood hole was left on Chen's bloody palm. Chen showed a look of pain on his face, and his energy stagnated. But Beichalfi took this opportunity. Awakening Dream, Natural Enemy, immediately performed the other two moves. The benefits of these two moves: the finger wind is as dense as rain, like Guanyin skills to sprinkle water, showing a fierce killing method. Chen missed a move. Then he was covered by the fast and sharp finger wind. He wanted to resist, but the fingertips were like ghosts and gods, penetrating the palm power and directly falling on the opponent's throat. Puff! A blood hole appeared in the throat. The attack was lightning fast. On the other side, Wu Ming's spear tore the black robe and attacked Beichalfi's back. Beichalfi succeeded in one strike and quickly turned his hand and pointed his finger. It became invisible, like a saint playing a piper, blocking Wu Ming's spear. After a few moves, the two retreated. At this time, Chen on the other side covered his throat and pointed at Beichalfi. At this time, Beichalfi had already revealed his figure. He was dressed in white, with a handsome face, fair skin, and a tall and straight figure, completely like a jade tree in the wind. But his eyes exuded coldness. It gave people a feeling of incomparable arrogance. "Who are you?" Chen asked hoarsely, while covering his neck. "Golden Wind and Rain Tower, Beichalfi." At this moment, Beichalfi reported his name. "Beichalfi, Golden Wind and Rain Tower. This." Chen's eyes were full of disbelief and surprise. They also investigated the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. The strongest one was Beichalfi. Beichalfi had never appeared before. He wanted to ask something, but his throat was pierced, so he had no chance. Blood was flowing, and he couldn't breathe. He fell directly to the ground. Wu Ming's eyes became gloomy. He didn't expect that one person would die in the hands of the other party after a fight. "You are the one who killed Yang Muchen of the Yang family." Wu Ming looked at Beichalfi and asked in a deep voice. "Yes, but you should not be the one who killed Qin Shianan and Qin Hao." Wu Ming stared at Beichalfi. Beichalfi reported his name, so what should he say? They offended someone they shouldn't offend. Beichalfi said in a cold voice. At the moment of speaking, he turned his body and attacked Wu Ming. The blood flag in Wu Ming's hand attacked. It collided with Beichalfi's fingers. But this time, the weapon in Wu Ming's hand actually cracked under Beichalfi's attack, and the energy from his fingertips continued to flow in. The blood flag shattered directly. Wu Ming's face changed when he made the move, and he threw away the broken blood flag in his palm. But he did not retreat. He rushed up into the air, and then he pointed his toes, and the energy in his body poured out without reservation. A violent blood appeared in his palm, and then his palm was clenched into a fist. The fist formed a blood-colored airflow, rushing down towards Beichalfi below. The ground was slightly collapsed by the impact of this violent force. Chen, who was watching the battle from a distance, had a fixed look in his eyes. He did not expect that Wu Ming would have such a strong destructive power. Chen, who was killed by Bei Chaofei before. Su Chen was relaxed in his heart, thinking that the two were just so-so. But looking at Wu Ming's attack, Su Chen knew that he had underestimated the other party. In fact, Su Chen was watching, but he didn't know that just now, it was actually Bei Chaofei's speed that was too fast. So Chen didn't have much time to react, so he could kill the other party with one blow. If he had made a normal move, Chen would not have been killed like this. After all, he was also a strong man in the early stage of soul refining. The attacked Bei Chaofei's eyes condensed, and the qi in his body circulated, and his body turned to offset the pressure brought by the punch. Battle Blood Fist. Wu Ming shouted, and his fist fell. Bei Chaofei's body staggered, but then Wu Ming's fist covered Bei Chaofei like rain. Bei Chaofei turned his body, and did not fight with the opponent head on. But the index finger and middle finger of his left hand were black, giving people a feeling of being as hard as iron. Suddenly, Bei Chaofei clenched his right hand into a fist without dodging, and directly collided with the opponent's fist. Bang! An amazing sound swept out from the place where they fought. Bei Chaofei's body retreated several steps, but the opponent only retreated one step. Wu Ming's face was ferocious, and his body rushed up violently, and all the blood in his body surged out, and he rushed towards Bei Chaofei. He wanted to suppress the opponent with violent force. From the situation just now, the opponent's ki was not as strong as his, but his body skills were not as good as his. At this moment, a cold light flashed in Bei Chaofei's eyes, and the next moment, he rushed out and punched out as well. All the ki in his body poured into his fist. Bang! The two fists collided with each other, and they did not separate at this moment. Instead, they fought with ki. Wu Ming's face was ferocious, and Bei Chaofei's face turned pale. Break it for me. Wu Ming let out a low roar from his throat, and the veins on his arms throbbed. The power in his body was pushed to the extreme by him, and he rushed towards his fist frantically. Bei Chaofei was the same, but it seemed that his strength was not as good as the other party. But he barely blocked Wu Ming's attack. Wu Ming's eyes suddenly condensed, and he wanted to pull back his arm, and then punched hard. But the moment he pulled back his arm, Bei Chaofei leaned forward, and his left arm also moved. His fingers were like after images, and directly inserted into Wu Ming's throat. Chapter 81 Fat People Are Cute. In the dark, Su Chen, wearing a black cloak, walked out. Wu Ming, whose throat was pierced, looked at Su Chen who walked out of the dark, and his pupils shrank suddenly. He didn't expect that there was someone in the dark. But he didn't have the chance to ask again, and his body fell to the ground. Touch the corpse. Su Chen liked it very much. These two people had high status in the Qin family and the Blood Flag sect, so they should have good things on them. First, he touched Chen's body. He was relatively poor, with only one silver note, which was only 300 taels. But he found a somewhat worn secret book on him. Only 3 words were left out of the 5 words, but the name was a bit famous. Blood Palm. Discovered the incomplete top-grade martial art Netherworld Blood Palm, rewarded with 3 bottles of blood-sucking bone-changing powder and 2 white lottery cards. Well, it seems that this martial art is not ordinary. Throw all the things he got into the space ring. Turned around and came to Wu Ming. The money was still very little, less than that of Chen, only 200 taels, and he also had a complete secret book, Iron Blood Hand. No rewards were triggered. It seems that this skill is ordinary. I originally wanted to make sure that you had no bones left, but I have to take advantage of your identities, so I'll let you have a complete body. Su Chen looked at the 2 bodies and said in a deep voice, Bei Chaofei wanted to use them to become famous. So the bodies must be intact, so that people can know some clues, so that Bei Chaofei can officially appear more powerful. There is no one else around. No one. Bei Chaofei replied. Then let's go. Su Chen nodded, and the 2 left quickly. After Su Chen and his friends left for a while, a caravan appeared on the street, and found 2 people lying on the ground. Who are these 2 people? The head of the caravan looked at the 2 people on the ground in front, and couldn't help asking. The leading guard warrior saw the people on the ground, and also saw Wu Ming wearing the clothes of the Blood Flag sect. The clothes of the Blood Flag sect. The guard leader stepped forward to inquire. His face suddenly changed, and he stammered, "They are Qin Chen, the third elder of the Qin family, and Wu Ming, the elder of the Blood Flag sect, who just passed by us." What? When the others heard this, they were immediately shocked, and some people slowly approached this side, looking at the two people lying on the ground. After seeing their faces clearly, their faces changed drastically. "Let's go quickly, don't stay here, and don't touch the bodies," the leader of the caravan shouted sternly. The vehicles bypassed the bodies and left quickly. As time went by, the news of the two people being killed spread quickly. As for this time, Su Chen had already arrived at the foot of Shanmen. As one of the 10 major sects in Lingnan County, Shanmen is located on Wuyi Mountain outside the city. The gravel-like mountain road, with bamboo forests on both sides, is similar to the sect address seen on TV or in novels before. Along the way, Su Chen met many Shanmen disciples. However, there were only a few people he greeted, and basically no one knew them, because Su Chen was just a simple inner sect disciple. It didn't take long for Su Chen to enter the mountain gate. After entering the mountain gate, Su Chen returned to his residence first. Shanmen has 3 peaks in total. The middle one is the main peak, which is the mountain led by the headmaster. The peak he is in is the right peak, Xianluo Peak. There are rows of wooden buildings. Su Chen's room is in the middle of a small building. The inner disciples of Shanmen have single rooms. When Su Chen entered the small building, a thin man wearing the same inner disciple clothes as Su Chen saw Su Chen and his eyes lit up. "Su Chen, you are back. Did you bring the silver back? Zhu Bing just came to see you 2 days ago," the thin young man said. Su Chen recalled that this person's name was Wang He, and he was an ordinary inner disciple like him. He was considered one of the friends of the previous owner. "I will go to him later." After Su Chen finished speaking, he entered his room. After changing into a new set of Shanmen disciple clothes, he prepared to go to the internal affairs hall first to report that he had entered the Xianshan realm and was promoted to the 2nd level inner disciple. Then he went to the Gangfa hall to practice the last few levels of Shanhe. Finally, I will definitely deal with Zhu Bing. It can also be regarded as helping the original owner to get revenge. When Su Chen changed his clothes and walked out of the small building, Wang He came to Su Chen with someone. Li Wu. Su Chen saw the person next to Wang He and knew who he was. He was the lackey of Zhu Bing. He looked at Wang He. "Brother Zhu asked us to keep an eye on you. As soon as you come back, tell him." Wang He looked at Su Chen and said. Hearing Wang He's words, Su Chen thought to himself, the original owner is too pitiful. He still thinks he is a good friend. The original owner's understanding of friends disappointed Su Chen too much. "Boy, I heard that you came back with money, so come with me to see brother Zhu." Li Wu looked at Su Chen and said, "Okay." Su Chen nodded. "I wanted to deal with Zhu Bing later, but since you came to my door first, I will deal with Zhu Bing first. Anyway, I will deal with him sooner or later. It doesn't matter when." Seeing that Su Chen was so sensible, Li Wu didn't say anything and turned around. "Let's go." Wang He looked at Su Chen, who didn't move, and said immediately. Su Chen glanced at Wang He, stepped forward, walked to Wang He's side, and suddenly hugged Wang He. "You are really my good brother." While hugging the other party, Su Chen suddenly punched and hit the other party's stomach. Wang He instantly felt a huge force surging into his body and wanted to make a sound, but at this time Su Chen's hand directly pressed the other party's mouth, so that the other party couldn't make a sound. But because he couldn't make a sound, his eyes were open and his face flushed. "If you are not a good person, you like to be a lackey," Su Chen said coldly in his ear. Then he let go of the other party. Wang He was so painful that he immediately covered his stomach and squatted on the ground. Li Wu turned around and saw this situation. He didn't care about Wang He, but said to Su Chen, "Why don't you leave? Do you want brother Zhu to wait for you? Although you brought money, you will be punished if you make brother Zhu unhappy." Su Chen didn't look at Wang He again and followed Li Wu to Zhu Bing's residence. Zhu Bing is a 2nd-class disciple of the inner sect and has his own courtyard. In the courtyard, a slightly fat young man was lying on a recliner in the courtyard. "I don't know how much silver Su Chen will bring back this time. If there is 1,000 taels, I can go down the mountain and have fun for a while," the fat man said softly. While he was talking, the door of the courtyard was opened, and Li Wu took Su Chen into the courtyard. Brother Su Chen, you are back now. I have been thinking about you, but to be honest, you have been away for a long time this time. There is nothing for you here, Li Wu, you go back first. Zhu Bing walked down from the recliner, greeted Su Chen warmly, and asked Li Wu to go back. Brother Zhu, I'll leave first. Li Wu bowed and said, then turned and left. You let him go now. Are you letting me abuse you when no one is watching, so it's better to beat you? Su Chen looked at this slightly fat boy and smiled. He felt that this little fat boy was a little cute. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 80 to Xiang Suilan, Second Class Disciple. Seeing the smile on Su Chen's face, the fat man felt a little weird, but he didn't think much about it, but walked in front of Su Chen. He stretched out his right hand, and the meaning was obvious, that is, to let Su Chen take out the banknotes. Looking at the other party's outstretched hand, Su Chen also stretched out his right hand, grabbed the other party, and then threw him over his shoulder. Bang! Before Zhu Bing could react, he was thrown to the ground by Su Chen. The buttocks that landed seemed to be cracked. There was a sharp sound of pain. Su Chen suddenly attacked, and he didn't use his ki to protect his buttocks at all. This ground is a solid stone ground. Because of the pain, he wanted to open his mouth and scream. But at this time, an iron palm grabbed his neck directly, pinched his throat, so that he couldn't make a sound, and pressed his head on the ground. With your strength, you dare to bully me? I just didn't want to bother with you before. Su Chen's low voice sounded in the fat man's ears. The deep voice was accompanied by a chill, which brought the momentarily confused fat man back to his senses. Looking for death. The fat man, whose neck was pinched, said with a ferocious face. And the ki in his body was flowing, and he wanted to raise his hand to attack Su Chen. But snap. At this time, his neck made a slight snapping sound. The feeling of suffocation and pain instantly rushed into the fat man's brain, and his palm, that was exerting strength, also loosened. Bang! Su Chen then threw the fat man aside. The fat man who was thrown on the ground felt that his bones were broken. He stood up, while enduring the pain. I want to kill you. The fat man's ki was flowing, and he clenched his fists, and rushed towards Su Chen. But when he rushed, Su Chen emitted an extremely violent aura, which made the fat man who was about to rush towards Su Chen change his face. He felt as if he was being stared at by a violent ape. His steps stopped abruptly. Cold sweat ran down his forehead. Then he knelt down in front of Su Chen. Boss Su, spare my life. I have 100 taels here. I'll give it to you as a gift. The fat man immediately took out a silver note from his arms and handed it to Su Chen. Here. Seeing him kneeling down and giving him 100 taels of silver note as a gift, Su Chen was a little surprised, but he also sighed at the fat man's cleverness and the restraint of his aura. He took the silver note and sat on the recliner where the fat man was lying before. You are very tactful, not bad. Boss Su, you will be my boss from now on, and I will be your subordinate. You can plant wherever you want. Boss, try this good tea I got from my master. You just came back. Drink a cup of tea first. Moisten your throat. Zhu Bing stepped forward and poured a cup of tea for Su Chen. The change was so fast. If the change was not fast, it would not work. The fierce aura that came out of Su Chen just now made him feel extremely palpitating. He felt that if he didn't do what he wanted, he might be beaten to death by the other party. His strength at the early stage of innateness was like an ant under Su Chen's momentum. I wanted to deal with you, but you know the situation, so I won't deal with you today. Su Chen took a sip of tea, stood up and said, I still have to go to the inner affairs hall. I'll come to you after I finish my business. He still had some things to ask the fat man. He had no grudge against the fat man before, but the fat man framed him and blackmailed him. There must be a reason. He needed to know. Boss Su is going to upgrade the level of inner disciples. Do you want me to lead the way? When the courtyard is allocated, I can help. My small courtyard next door is vacant. I can help you with Boss Su. The fat man seemed very attentive. Su Chen scared him, but he also felt that he might be able to hug a thigh. Who made the fat man's brain turn quickly. Hearing the fat man's words, Su Chen's heart was also moved. After entering the Xianshan realm, if the mountain and river skill is practiced to the 4th level, he will become a second class inner disciple. At that time, the Internal Affairs Hall will assign him to one of the 9 courtyards of Xianluo Peak. Su Chen has many secrets of his own. Therefore, he cannot be assigned to a more strict courtyard, and he must find a loose courtyard. Which courtyard head in Xianluo Peak does not take care of things, and does not care about disciples? Su Chen asked. Do not take care of things? The fat man was a little confused. How can the head of a courtyard who does not take care of things have any resources? But he still said, Xiangsu Court, Elder Mirren does not take care of things and disciples. Although her strength is good, she has few resources. Boss Su, I suggest you find a way to enter Xianshan Court. The fat man suggested. Mirren Chen, the head of Xiangsu Court, stepped into the peak of the soul refining realm a year ago. He is a warrior who is expected to impact the soul refining realm within these 3 years. He is a newly promoted elder of Xianluo Peak. The elders of Xianluo Peak are not the elders of the main peak. The strength of the elders of the main peak requires the soul refining realm. However, the elders of Xianluo Peak can manage a branch courtyard as long as they are in the late stage of soul refining. Mirren Chen, who is rumored to be very beautiful, is a direct disciple of Xianluo Peak. When the courtyard was opened, many people wanted to enter Xiangsu Court. They dreamed of becoming Mirren Chen's disciples, but Mirren Chen never showed up and did not accept any disciples. So many people who entered Xiangsu Court before regretted it very much. After all, disciples of the branch courtyard are not Mirren Chen's disciples, so they are useless. Moreover, there are few resources, and their cultivation is delayed. This also led to many people not wanting to go. No, Xiangsu Court is very suitable for me. How can I go to Xiangsu Court? Su Chen said. Xiangsu Court, but what do you need? Boss Su, you want to go to Xiangsu Court, then you don't need it. As long as you don't give anything to the disciples of the Internal Affairs Hall, they will pass you over. The fat man thought Su Chen was going to Xianshan Court before, but he didn't expect Su Chen to go to Xiangsu Court. Is that so? Let's go, take me there. If you can't go to Xiangsu, find a way to get me there. Su Chen was afraid of the possibility of something happening, so he took the fat man with him. Xianluo Peak Internal Affairs Hall. The manager of the Internal Affairs Hall was dozing off on a bench. Some people were entertaining the disciples who came in. One of the 3 peaks of Xianluo Peak. The number of people is not as large as the main peak, but there are also more than 1,000 people. The Internal Affairs Hall has 2 functions. One is to determine the level of disciples, and the other is to distribute materials on a fixed basis. Of course, the distribution of materials is fixed on a few days, and as for the promotion of disciples, there will not be many, so it is not very busy on weekdays. After Su Chen entered the Internal Affairs Hall, this senior brother, I have entered the Xianshan, and I have also practiced the mountain and river gong to the 4th level. I want to be promoted to a second class inner disciple. Su Chen came to a disciple of the Internal Affairs Hall and said, enter the Xianshan, practice the mountain and river gong to the 4th level, come with me. The Internal Affairs Hall disciple took Su Chen to a room. He needed to verify Su Chen's words. Soon the two came out of the room. What's your name? Which branch do you want to go to? The disciple looked at Su Chen. The other looked at Su Chen. My name is Su Chen. Su Chen replied, then looked at the other. The disciple looked at Su Chen without moving, stretched out a hand, rubbed his thumb and index finger, but Su Chen just looked at him without any expression. The inner hall disciple's eyes changed, and he spoke directly. You go to Xiangsu. After saying that, he put Su Chen's name into Xiangsu, and threw Su Chen a second class disciple token of Xiangsu. Chapter 83 Xiangsu, Mirren Chen. The matter was, just as the fat man said before. As expected, he was assigned to Xiangsu without giving any benefits. It was in line with Su Chen's current thoughts, but the disciple of the internal affairs hall who received him looked unhappy and looked at Chen gloomily. Chen didn't care about the other party's expression. He took the token and walked out of the internal affairs hall. He still had to report to Xiangsuilun. Brother Chen, I think so. As long as you don't give them benefits, they will assign you to Xiangsuilun. The fat man was very familiar with it. In order to get closer, he didn't call him the boss, but called him Brother Chen. I'm going to report to Xiangsuilun. You don't have to follow me. Chen waved his hand. Okay, Brother Chen, if you have other things, just tell me to do it. The fat man said goodbye to Chen. Chen separated from the fat man and headed towards Xiangsuilun. There are 9 other courtyards in Xianluo Peak. Xiangsuilun ranks last and is arranged at the westernmost part of Xianluo Peak, which is the most remote. The courtyard is here mainly because Chen, the head of Xiangsu Courtyard, likes quietness and is convenient for hard practice, so he lives in this remote place in the west. Half an hour later, Chen arrived at the gate of Xiangsu Courtyard. Xiangsu Courtyard. The courtyard is not as luxurious as other courtyards, and there are several courtyards in front of the courtyard. The backyard is where the head Chen practices, and outsiders are not allowed to enter at will. It's really rare. Chen didn't see anyone at the gate of the courtyard. When he entered the courtyard, he didn't see anyone either. It is estimated that they are all out practicing by themselves. After all, Chen rarely appears to teach disciples, and he has not been seen for many years. Who would stay here? Chen looked around the courtyard and found a wooden sign with the 3 words registration office written on the left side of the door. There was a girl with a ponytail inside, lying on the table, sleeping, drooling at the corners of her mouth, and she looked like she was sleeping soundly. She looked very pretty, her eyebrows kept shaking, and she felt like she was laughing. She probably dreamed of something funny. Seeing this, Chen felt embarrassed to disturb the other party. Let him sleep for a while and take a look at this courtyard. Chen thought to himself. No matter what, he will be a disciple of Xiangsuilun in the future, so it is okay to familiarize himself with it in advance. In the courtyard, there is a room with more than a dozen people sitting, similar to a classroom, which should be the place where the courtyard is responsible for teaching disciples. There is another training ground, and 3 rooms with the words training room written on them. After a rough look, Xiangsuilun gave him the feeling of silence and simplicity. Unconsciously, Chen stepped into the backyard. When he stepped into the backyard, he looked up and found a beautiful figure standing in the pavilion in the backyard, wearing white clothes, like a fairy. This is an extremely beautiful woman. Standing there, Chen felt like an orchid in the valley, very out of the world, and particularly peaceful. There was also a sense of spirituality on her body. Chen looked at the woman in front of him, and his eyes were briefly absent-minded. It can be said that this woman is the most perfect and out-of-the-world woman he has ever met. His footsteps became lighter and slower accordingly. But at this time, a voice came to Chen's ears. The backyard is the forbidden area of Xiangsuilun, not the place you should come to. The voice was like the sound of nature, very pleasant, but Chen felt a pressure. It seemed that his steps forward were blocked. The momentum was suppressed. Chen's eyes condensed, but he also stopped. She knew that the woman in front of her should be the head of Xiangsuilun, Chen, who rarely showed up. Who asked you to come to the backyard, looking for a fight? At this time, a fierce shout sounded from not far away, and then a sharp palm force swept towards Chen. The one who made the move was a woman in a yellow shirt. The woman's body was very fast, and her palm fell directly on Chen's chest. Chen's eyes condensed, raised his palm, and punched out. The powerful fist force collided directly with the opponent's palm. Bang! The fists of the two collided. Chen's fist directly shattered the key in the opponent's palm. The key was shattered, and the fist collided with the palm. The woman only felt a violent force transmitted to her arm, which shattered the key in her arm, and made her arm numb. You. The yellow-shirted woman's expression turned cold. She had just wanted to teach this person who trespassed into the backyard a lesson. But she didn't expect that the other party would actually shatter her key. He used pure physical strength, which made her a little angry. A fiery red key appeared in her palm, and she was about to attack Su Chen. At this moment, Su Chen's momentum also began to change, and the physical strength in his body increased, giving off a strong sense of oppression. The woman who was about to attack felt a momentum like a mountain, suddenly pressing towards her. It made her stop the attack instantly. "You are not his opponent." At this time, the white-clothed woman Mirren Chen spoke. With a hint of surprise in her eyes, she looked at Su Chen and said, "You should not be from our other courtyard. I was just assigned to Xiangsu Court by the Internal Affairs Hall today and came to report." Su Chen took out the Xiangsu Court disciple token. Second-class disciple. The white-clothed woman looked at Su Chen with a little surprise on her face. The second-class disciple of Xiangsu Yuan is not as strong as Su Chen. "I'm Mirren Chen, the head of Xiangsu Yuan. What's your name?" Mirren Chen asked with some interest in Su Chen. Su Chen. Su Chen did not call himself a disciple. Mirren Chen's strength is not bad, but it only puts a little pressure on him. Such a person is not qualified to be called a disciple. To be called a disciple, his strength must be at least above the soul refining. Who makes him have 2 masters under him? Su Chen? Seeing Su Chen say so, Mirren Chen nodded slightly. At this time, a figure walked in from the backyard and was rubbing his eyes with his hands. It was the girl who was sleeping on the table. After rubbing her eyes, the girl looked at Su Chen standing in the courtyard. She asked in some surprise, "You are here to report. Why are you in the backyard? The backyard is not for you to come." While speaking, she hurriedly pulled Su Chen and pulled Su Chen out of the backyard. After leaving the backyard, the girl patted her chest and took a deep breath. "Fortunately I was smart, otherwise you would have been severely punished by Sister Kwei. No one is allowed to enter the backyard without permission. My name is Qi Yulinger. What's your name?" The girl looked at Su Chen and said, "Su Chen, I just came to the other courtyard to register today." Su Chen had a good impression of this girl. After all, she didn't do anything and even pulled him away. She was a good person. "Su Chen, then why didn't you register with me?" The girl glanced at Su Chen and said, "You looked like you were sleeping soundly, as if you were having a good dream, so I didn't disturb you." Su Chen looked at Qi Yulinger and said. Hearing Su Chen's words, Qi Yulinger blushed. She did have a good dream when she was sleeping just now. But Su Chen saw her ugly face. "Huh, you didn't even know to call me. I risked offending Sister Kwei to save you. I'll help you register first, and then I'll get the robes and skills of the Xiangsu Yuan disciples for you." Qi Yulinger changed the subject and said to Su Chen. Su Chen nodded and followed Qi Yulinger to register and get the robes. Chapter 84. 3-point return to Yuan Qi, Tian's Hall, Nailin Rangan. In the backyard. "Miss, this man's body is very strong. My ki couldn't penetrate his fist. It was broken by his ki, and the opponent just hit casually. The real physical strength is very terrifying." Kwei, the woman who made the move, bowed to the woman in white and said. She just made the move, mainly wanting to teach Su Chen a lesson for daring to step into the backyard. But she didn't expect Su Chen to burst out with a shocking power. His physical strength is very strong, probably comparable to the middle stage of the soul refining. Mirren Chen said. "Middle stage of the soul refining, miss, your evaluation of him is a bit high." Kwei couldn't help but say. Although she was suppressed by Su Chen, she didn't think that Su Chen had a strength comparable to the middle stage of the soul refining. If the opponent wanted to kill you just now and suddenly burst out with all his strength, you might be seriously injured in one blow. The woman in white, Mirren Chen, said softly. Hearing this, Kwei was slightly stunned. Thinking of the mountain-like oppression that Su Chen had just given her, her face sank. Maybe it's true as the young lady said, the other party has the fighting power of the middle stage of the soul refining. You go check his identity and tell me when the time comes. Mirren Chen said and walked towards the depths of the small building in the backyard. On the other side, after Qi Yulinger took Su Chen to register, she took him to the secret library of Xiangsu Villa where the secret books were stored. Su Chen, this is good. The 5th level of the internal strength secret book of the Shan sect. You must not leak it. After you take it back, you can also choose another martial arts here. Qi Yulinger said to Su Chen. The 5th level of Shan Gong. Su Chen took the martial arts and then took a look at the secret books placed on the shelves in front of him. Can I take a look at it at will? Yes, take a look at it at will. You choose the one and tell me. I will help you register it, and then you can take it away. These are all handwritten copies. The only copies are all in the Sutra library of the main peak, Qi Yulinger said. Su Chen walked inside, but he didn't have much hope in his heart. What kind of martial arts can be viewed at will? Taiyin sword technique, falling leaf sword with the wind, weeping willow sword technique, heaven and earth sword slash. These names are good. Su Chen looked at heaven and earth sword slash and said softly, but after opening it, his eyes were indeed stunned. There was only one move, a chopping move. Don't look at this, it's useless. This is a sword move. There is a picture of this sword in the Sutra library. If you go to see it with your own eyes, you may be able to understand the sword move of this move. Qi Yulinger said, after seeing Su Chen open the heaven and earth sword slash. The Sutra library requires first-class disciples to have the opportunity to go. Su Chen put down the sword manual and then continued to search. Heaven Frost Fist. Su Chen's eyes condensed, thinking of the martial arts of Xiangba in Fengyan, and began to investigate. Discovered the top martial arts, Qianxiang Fist, one of the skills of Sanfengyan Qi, and rewarded 2 white lottery cards. I didn't expect that this Qianxiang Fist was actually related to Sanfengyan Qi. Su Chen's face was happy. He has an ice unicorn arm on his left arm. Practicing this Qianxiang Fist will definitely increase his power. I'll choose this technique. Su Chen said to Qi Yulinger. This is just a cold attributed technique, and it's more difficult to practice it. Qi Yulinger looked at Su Chen and said, it's okay, I believe I can practice successfully. Su Chen said, okay, I'll help you register, and here's the key to the independent courtyard. You can choose a courtyard in the back mountain. But I tell you, our courtyard is in a remote location, and the courtyard allocated to us by the sect is also relatively remote, with few people living there. If you have money, you can find a way to buy another courtyard yourself. Qi Yulinger said. Then she thought of something and looked at Su Chen and said, you come here, you probably don't have much money on you. Do you want us to lend you some? Just 1 cent interest. Suddenly Qi Yulinger turned into a little money grubber and looked at Su Chen. I don't need it, I'll live in the back mountain. Su Chen said. It's convenient for him to go out when there are fewer people. It's also convenient for him to practice. He now has enough techniques to practice. Especially since he got a heavenly demon Zen seal method before, but he hasn't practiced it yet. No. What a pity. Qi Yulinger was a little disappointed. Then I'll take my leave first. Su Chen didn't plan to stay here for long, so he said goodbye to Qi Yulinger and left. Remember to come to collect the elixir and supplies on the 3rd of every month, and there will be a lecture at the other courtyard on the 3rd. You can raise any questions about cultivation. No one will come at other times. Qi Yulinger instructed Su Chen. Su Chen thanked him and left, then headed towards the back mountain not far from the other courtyard. Soon Su Chen came to the back mountain courtyard of Xiangsuilan. However, there were some people scattered in these courtyards. He looked at the key in his hand. At the end of this courtyard, there was a bamboo forest to the right. Not bad, suitable for him. At this time, in the county government, Bei Chaofei had already found out where Tian's Hall was located. Looking at the vast manor in front of him, Bei Chaofei came to the gate of the manor and knocked on the door of the manor. Not long after, an old man who looked like a butler walked in from outside the door. King Cheng, Bei Chaofei of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, comes to meet Tian's Hall, Nailin Rangayan. Bei Chaofei handed over the visiting card in his hand. When the old housekeeper heard Bei Chaofei report about the Jinfeng Xiaoyu building in Qingcheng, a strange look flashed in his cloudy eyes. Tian's Hall is for intelligence. They certainly know what happened in Qingcheng, and they also know that the current owner of Qingcheng, Bei Xianyu, is very powerful. Although the other party is in Qingcheng, he should not be underestimated. Come with me. The old man led Bei Chaofei into the manor. As he stepped into the manor, Bei Chaofei sensed many eyes watching them in the dark. The aura was not weak. There is still some power in the manor, and the foundation is not bad. Bei Chaofei thought to himself. The manor is very large. After passing through the hall in front of the courtyard, walking through a wooden corridor, he came to a hall. "Mr. Bay, wait here for a while. I will go to see the master." "Prepare tea for Mr. Bay," the old housekeeper instructed the maid in the hall. Then he left the hall, headed towards the backyard. In a courtyard, a woman in a light blue dress was sitting on a stone chair, holding a book in her hand. Her black hair was falling down in the breeze. She had big eyes, long eyelashes, and a graceful figure. She was very beautiful. It was Nalan Rangayan, who was now in charge of Tyant's Hall. Suddenly, she put down the book in her hand. She looked at the old man who was coming. "Kibo, what's the matter?" "Miss, Bei Chaofei from Jinfengxiayu Tower in Qingcheng came to see you." "Qingcheng, Jinfengxiayu Tower, Bei Chaofei?" Hearing this, Nalan Rangayan frowned slightly. According to the information they had received before, there was no such person as Bei Chaofei in Jinfengxiayu Tower. "How strong is he?" Nalan Rangayan asked. "Maybe he is in the soul refining realm," Kibo said. "The soul refining realm. Bei Shianayu is also in the soul refining realm. It seems to be similar to our previous guess. Bei Shianayu should have a force behind him. But what does Bei Chaofei want to do in my Tyant's Hall? Let's go. I'll go meet Bei Chaofei." Nalan Rangayan stood up and walked towards the hall. Chapter 85 Threats, Speculations, and Cooperation. Hall. Bei Chaofei closed his eyes and waited for Nalan Rangayan from Tyant's Hall. He began to recall the information about Nalan Rangayan from Tyant's Hall. Nalan Rangayan was the adopted daughter of Nalan Goyan, the former head of Tyant's Hall. After Nalan Goyan died, because he had no offspring, Nalan Rangayan could become the head of Tyant's Hall. Nalan Rangayan was also extremely talented and good at strategy. Under the siege of the other two families, she actually kept the status of Tyant's Hall. As for the martial arts, it is analyzed that she may be in the realm of refining spirit, but because Nalan Rangayan has been living in seclusion and has never taken action, it is just a rough guess. There is not much information, and it is not practical to grasp Nalan Rangayan based on the existing information. While Bei Chaofei was thinking, Nalan Rangayan, wearing a blue skirt, walked in from outside the hall and her eyes fell on Bei Chaofei who was sitting in the hall. Dressed in white, she was handsome and proud, and she also exuded a sense of arrogance and loneliness. Her beautiful eyes frowned slightly. Bei Chaofei's eyes moved slightly when he saw Nalan Rangayan coming in. He stood up and bowed slightly. "Meetings, Nalan Hall Master. Please sit down, Mr. Bei." Nalan Rangayan asked Bei Chaofei to sit down, and she sat opposite him. "I don't know, what business does Mr. Bei have for coming to my Tyant's Hall this time?" Nalan Rangayan never mentioned Jinfengxiayu Tower, but just called Bei Chaofei Mr. Bei. "Nalan Hall Master, I'm here on behalf of Jinfengxiayu Tower this time, hoping to cooperate with Tyant's Hall." Bei Chaofei said. "It is rumored that Jinfengxiayu Tower cooperated with Commander Yan of the Northern Pacification Division and should be able to get a quota for the prefecture power without having to cooperate with our Tyant's Hall." Nalan Rangayan looked at Bei Chaofei and said. She already understood the purpose of Bei Chaofei's coming here now. "Nalan Hall Master, this is a win-win opportunity. We at Jinfengxiayu Tower don't want any constraints behind us. If it is just for the quota, we can get it at any time. But when we get the quota, we will first take action against Tyant's Hall," Bei Chaofei said. Hearing Bei Chaofei's words, Nalan Rangayan's eyes condensed slightly. She didn't expect Bei Chaofei to threaten them directly. A frost appeared in her beautiful eyes. "Mr. Bei, is this a threat?" "You can see it as a threat. Who made you suppress now? Although I don't know why you haven't been suppressed. But the market of Lingnan County is so big. We, Jinfengxiayu Tower, can't just build a branch building and enjoy the scenery when we enter the county." Bei Chaofei looked at Nalan Rangayan and said. "Sometimes threats are the only way to speed up the process. Tyant's Hall can temporarily block the pressure from the other two families, but if Jinfengxiayu Tower is added, Tyant's Hall will not be so easy. Master Nalan, I won't stay here. I'll give you a day to think about it. I'll come to you tomorrow. If you don't cooperate, then you are an opponent." Bei Chaofei stood up and turned to walk out of the hall. Looking at Bei Chaofei leaving, Nalan Rangayan's face showed anger. Miss Betrayals' words are very clear. What should we do? Kibo said in a deep voice beside her. This Jinfengxiao pavilion is too overbearing. Once we cooperate with them, we will probably be slowly eroded by them in the end. But judging from Betrayals' actions, there is something behind them. Nalan Rangan suppressed her anger and said in a deep voice, if that's the case, it will be really bad for us. Kibo said with a bad look. Don't they want to cooperate? Maybe I can use them to avenge my adoptive father. When he comes again tomorrow, I will tell him that I can cooperate with him, but he needs sincerity, and ask him to bring the head of the third elder of Heaven Hall. Nalan Rangan said coldly. Tyance Hall is in a very difficult situation now. The reason why it can still exist is mainly because someone has taken a fancy to her. Heaven Hall and Byungsan did not completely suppress them. If she cooperates with Betrayals and solves her current troubles, then she can also take advantage of it. Thinking of this, the frost on Nalan Rangan's face disappeared, and she showed a smile. Kibo, who was standing aside, also knew the lady's plan and said nothing. Then Kibo seemed to think of something. We just got the news today that the elders of the Qin family and the Blood Flag sect who were heading to King Cheng were killed on the way. From the traces of the attack, it seems that the person who killed Yang Muchen of the Yang family is the same person. Based on some analysis, this person's strength should have reached the middle stage of soul refining. Kibo said in a deep voice. It seems that the chaos in King Cheng will continue to the county government. The Qin family, the Yang family, the Blood Flag sect, the Northern Pacification Division, the Cold Moon sect, and the person who attacked in secret. The weather in Lingnan County is about to change. Send someone to find out the information of the person who attacked, and see who the person who attacked in secret is. Nalan Rangan said. While speaking, Nalan Rangan's face suddenly changed. The figure of Betrayals appeared in her mind. Do you think these people were killed by people in the dark of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower, or by this Betrayals? Nalan Rangan said in a deep voice. Hearing Nalan Rangan's words, Kibo's expression suddenly changed. Miss, what are you saying? This is unlikely. Kibo was a little unconvinced. Why is it impossible? Betrayals came from the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. The Golden Wind and Rain Tower in King Cheng was just a small intelligence force. It was somewhat famous in King Cheng, but it was not famous in the county. Now there are masters like Bei Xianyu and Bei Chaofi. Bei Xianyu killed Zhu Minghui of the Hanyu sect with one sword. Zhu Minghui was a general under Lu Xiangxing, one of the 4 Dharma kings of the Hanyu sect. Bei Xianyu killed such a person with one move. It shows that Bei Xianyu doesn't care about Lu Xiangxing. Lu Xiangxing doesn't care. Then there is no need to care about the Yang family, the Qin family, and the Blood Flag sect. There are only 2 reasons why he dared to do this. One is that he is strong, and the other is that he has a force behind him. Betrayals didn't show up before, which can be said to be strong in himself, but this Betrayals showed up, which means that they have a force behind them, and it is not ordinary. Judging from the current situation, the Golden Wind and Rain Tower is going to enter the county. The county will become chaotic, and they will have a chance. The more Nalan Rangan thought about it, the faster her mind turned, as if she had grasped something. But then her face became solemn. If her guess was right, then Betrayals' threat was real. And it was the kind of threat that he would attack them at any time. Maybe this is why he came here in person, which made me feel scared. Nalan Rangan thought to herself. Later, help me make an appointment with Betrayals and tell him that I agree with his proposal that Tyance Hall cooperate with Jinfengxiao Tower. Nalan Rangan said with determination. After analyzing these, she knew that she could not refuse, so she agreed to cooperate directly. Understood. Nakibo nodded. Now he had roughly thought of something. Cooperating with Jinfengxiao Tower might be the only way. In this way, it can also relieve the pressure on the young lady. Chapter 86. 3 families meet. Suspected target. Shangate. In the courtyard, Su Chen practiced according to the 5th level of Shangate that he had obtained. The 5th level of the practice is very different from the 4th level. It can not only greatly expand the innate ki, but also purify the quality of the previous innate true ki. It can be said that this is the most critical foundation of Shangong. Swallow some innate pills to increase your practice speed. poor in literature and rich in martial arts. This is really a hard truth. Without money, it is really slow to improve your practice. According to this practice progress, if the 5th level of practice is completed, I will be able to reach the peak of the innate, or enter the early stage of refining the spirit. Then I will exchange for the 6th level of Shangong. From this situation, the 6th level should involve the mind. Chen thought to himself, after practicing for a while. Then a book of Shian Mozen seal appeared in his hand. A book of practice that was obtained before. Check it out. It is a hand seal attack method. There are only 3 moves, Shian Mo Vajra Mantra, Shian Mo Tathagata Heart Mantra, and the last move Shian Mo Coming to the World. Judging from the power of these 3 moves, it is definitely not ordinary. But if you want to practice, it is not easy. After all, when Chen first saw it, he didn't understand the cultivation formula. It seems that my martial arts talent is not that strong. Chen shook his head. Then he took out the skills he got from the Blood Flag sect and the 3rd elder of the Qin family. After practicing the skills of the Blood Flag sect and the 3rd elder of the Qin family, he could fish in troubled waters and frame others. As for the Skyfrost Fist, he also needs to practice. If he wants to get more in the Mountain River sect, he needs to show some talent. Judging from the previous contact with the Skyfrost Fist and the Nether Blood Palm, he can get rewards for contacting certain advanced martial arts. After all, he got 4 white lottery cards for contacting 2 incomplete advanced martial arts. So in the Mountain River sect, getting a high position may allow him to contact more advanced martial arts. Take out the Skyfrost Fist manual. The Skyfrost Fist is mainly about accumulating frost energy. The more frost energy is accumulated, the stronger the power of the fist. He has a natural advantage in this regard with the Ice Kirin arm, and he can also condense more Skyfrost energy in his left arm. Practicing the Heavenly Frost Fist was not as confusing as studying the Heavenly Demon Zen Seal. Instead, he quickly entered the entry state. The cold air in his danshan flowed and echoed with his left hand. Some of the cold air was constantly condensed in his left hand. In this way, there was no cold air in his danshan, and others could not sense it when they checked. The Heavenly Frost Fist was practiced very quickly. As he practiced, a chill appeared around him. The temperature in the courtyard began to drop. At this time, in the Shiangsu Villa, Kwei came to Chen. Miss, I checked the information about Chen, and it was still a bit surprising. Kwei said. Tell me about it? Chen asked. Chen, that is the son of the former owner of the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower in Qingcheng. After his father died, he transferred the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower to the current owner of the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, Bei Shianayu, and asked him to help destroy the Lei family. Previously, Chen paid to enter the Shan Gate to become an inner disciple, but he didn't show anything. His strength has always been at the acquired realm. This time when he returned to Qingcheng, he didn't show much, but when he came back, he had reached the innate realm. He must have been hiding his own strength. This time his father died, and then he burst out with strength. It seems that he wants to improve his strength more. Kwei said, is that so? It's interesting. He can trade with Bei Shianayu, which means that he has some connection with Bei Shianayu. This Bei Shianayu's Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower has been very popular recently. I'm afraid he will come to the county government soon. But this has nothing to do with us. Don't pay attention to him. If he has good qualifications, give him what he deserves. Chen said. Yes. Kwei nodded. It's okay, you go first. Chen waved his hand. Since you are willing to show your talent, let me see how talented you are. Nowadays, there are too few talented young people in Shan sect. Chen sighed after Kwei left. County Mansion. Qin Family Hall. 2 bodies were placed in the hall. They were Qin Chin and Wu Ming, who were killed by Bei Chaofi. At this time, 3 people were standing in the room. All of them looked solemn, and they were all middle-aged men. They were Yang Mao, the head of the Yang family, Qin Lin, the head of the Qin family, and Zhu Xian, the deputy head of the Blood Flag sect. From this situation, it seems that it was one person, and he was a master of finger techniques. It was one person who attacked the kid. Yang Mao, the head of the Yang family, was about 40 years old, wearing a green robe, and his palms were dark red, which was different from the palms of ordinary people. It seemed that his skills were extraordinary. One person killed Qin Chen and Wu Ming. This person's strength is extraordinary. Qinlin, the head of the Qin family, said. Qinlin was thin, his eyes were like those of an eagle, sharp and unusual, and he exuded a terrifying murderous intent. Previously, he lost 2 sons, and now he has lost an elder in the soul refining realm. The Qin family suffered heavy losses, so he could not help but be angry and kill the enemy. However, the enemy killed Qin Chen and Wu Ming with 1 finger. The enemy's strength made him afraid. Yes, from the traces of the fight over there and the expressions of the 2 people, the enemy killed Qin Chen first and then killed Wu Ming after fighting with him. Another person, wearing a long robe of the Blood Flag sect, had a gloomy face and a cold tone. He was Zhu Xian, the deputy leader of the Blood Flag sect. Could it be that they attacked my son just to lure out Qin Chen and Wu Ming? Yang Mao frowned and said, maybe they have this intention. The other party killed Qin Hao first. The strength of killing Qin Hao should not be very strong. The one who killed Xianlin was a man who had been holding a sword for 20 years. He must be a man who could hold a sword for 20 years. The third time he killed Mu Chen was a master of using fingers. From the information we got, there are at least 3 opponents. This should not be a simple revenge killing. The other party should act with a purpose. The other party may be targeting our 3 families. Zhu Xian, the deputy leader of the Blood Flag sect, said in a deep voice. Hearing this, Yang Mao and Qinlin looked solemn. Indeed, from the analysis, the other party may be coming for the 3 of them. What force do you think it will be? The Hanyu sect? Qinlin said in a deep voice. It shouldn't be. The Hanyu sect is now dealing with Yanyu of the Northern Pacification Division. There is no reason for them to attack us. We have no interest in the other party at all. Yang Mao, the head of the Yang family, said. I feel that someone may want to fish in troubled waters and take advantage of the opportunity of the Hanyu sect to disrupt Lingnan County and want to reap the benefits. Yang Mao said afterwards. Master Yang, from what you said, you have someone you suspect. Zhu Xian looked at Yang Mao and said. Yes, actually I suspect Bei Xianyu of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Yang Mao said Bei Xianyu's name. Tell me the reason. Zhu Xian said. The 3rd master of the Mu family of Zitan Palace wanted to join forces with our Yang family through Cheng Yang of Qingcheng to take down Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower in Qingcheng. So I investigated Bei Xianyu. This person exudes a strong majesty, which is not something that a hard practitioner can have. I suspect there is a force behind him. Yang Mao said in a deep voice. Some characteristics of a person are developed through a certain environment. Chapter 87. Plotting against Bei Xiaofei and showing off his cards. It seems that you suspected this Bei Xianyu before. No wonder you didn't send someone to go to Qingcheng with them. Qinlin looked at Yang Mao and said in a deep voice. It is indeed as Yang Mao said, the aura of a hard-working martial artist may be strong, but it will never reflect the majesty of a superior. The divine sword is invincible. Bei Xianyu. When the divine sword hall ruled by him dominated the martial arts world and dominated the world, its momentum was even higher than the money gang of Shangwen Jinhong, the dragon and phoenix ring. As such a hall master, Bei Xianyu naturally has the majesty of a superior. If this is the case, it's a bit scary. Bei Xianyu's sword is very strong, and now there is another master of using fingers. This shows that the power behind Bei Xianyu is not simple. Zhu Xian, the deputy leader of the Blood Flag sect, said in a deep voice. Now the 3 of us can only join forces to deal with this Bei Xianyu. I have received news that the Golden Wind and Rain Tower is preparing to follow the route of Zeduo Buzhengxi and enter the county government. We can take action from this point. Yang Mao said. They want to enter the county government. You mean to cut off their access to the county government? Qinlin said after hearing Yang Mao's words. No, I got the news that there is already someone from Jinfeng Xiaoyu in the county government. As long as Zeduo Buzhengxi agrees, the person from Jinfeng Xiaoyu will go to see him, and then we can surround and kill him first. Yang Mao's voice was cold. There is already someone in the county government. Do you know who this person is? Hearing this, Zhu Xian asked. I don't know yet. I have been sending people to investigate, but there is no clue. Yang Mao shook his head. After getting the news of Qin Chen's death, he immediately contacted Cheng Yang in Qingcheng, but Cheng Yang didn't give him any clues. This was the news he got from buying Chen Yang's confidant butler. Should we let Zeduo Buzhengshi help us or that person out? Zhu Xian, the deputy leader of the Blood Flag sect, said. It's a bit difficult. If the other party's power is not simple, the old guy Zeduo Buzhengshi may win over the other party. We can only wait here. Qinlin said in a deep voice. If this happens, the reputation of our three families will plummet in Lingnan Prefecture, and many people will laugh at us. Perhaps, someone will unite to deal with us. Of course, our Zuki sect is not in the prefecture, so we don't care much about this, but your Qin and Yang families are in danger. Zhu Xian said. Hearing Zhu Xian's words, Yang Mao and Qinlin's faces suddenly changed. Zhu Xian was right. The Zuki sect is a sect. Although it belongs to the prefecture, its foundation is not in the prefecture. Their Yang family is different from the Qin family. Their foundation is in the prefecture. I have a way. Yang Mao said at this time. Brother Yang, what do you say? The two looked at Yang Mao. We will find someone to pretend to be the left governor, pass the message to Qin Yang, and let the people of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower go to Wangjiang Pavilion to meet the left governor. We will set up an ambush there in advance and surround and kill the opponent. Yang Mao said. In this case, we may offend Zeduo Buzhengshi. If he finds out, we may be in trouble. Qinlin said in a deep voice. When the time comes, we will get rid of all the people involved. Who will know? Without evidence, he can't do anything to us. Maybe we can pull him to our side. After all, he is the one who made the appointment. Yang Mao's eyes flashed with murderous intent. Okay, let's do it this way. Brother Yang, you make the arrangements and we will cooperate with you. Qinlin said. Okay, then I will go back to make the arrangements first. You two wait for my news. Yang Mao clasped his fists and left. After Yang Mao left, Qinlin waved his hand to have the bodies in the hall moved and then sat down with Zhu Xian. If we do this, I'm afraid it will lead to a counterattack from the forces behind Beishai and Ayu. Qinlin said in a deep voice. Brother Qin, don't worry too much at this time. The other party has already attacked us. Even if we don't fight back, the other party will also attack us. As the saying goes, the first to strike is the strongest. We need to turn passivity into initiative. But I still need to ask the master for instructions on this matter. I won't stay in the mansion. Zhu Xian said, and got up and left. In the hall, Qinlin looked solemn. In another place, Bei Chaofei, who was practicing in the inn, heard the knock on the door, restrained his breath and stood up. When he opened the door, it was a man wearing a cloak who appeared at the door. Mr. Bei, it's me. My lady wants to talk to Mr. Bei. You have thought it through so quickly. Bei Chaofei heard the other party's voice and knew that the other party was the housekeeper of Tian's Hall. Surprise appeared in his eyes. No matter what, we have to make a decision, so it's better to do it as soon as possible. Mr. Bei, please follow me. Butler Kibo waved his hand. Bei Chaofei closed the door and walked out of the inn with the other party. A carriage was ready outside. Bei Chaofei got on the carriage and the old housekeeper drove the carriage forward. After a while, they arrived at a relatively quiet bamboo forest. Mr. Bei, our young lady is waiting for you in the bamboo house inside. Kibo stopped the carriage and said, I didn't expect that there is such a bamboo forest in this county city. Bei Chaofei got off the carriage and looked at the bamboo forest in front of him. Then he walked into the bamboo forest. After a while, a bamboo house appeared in front of him, and Nailin Rangan, who was dressed in blue, was sitting on the bamboo house. Mr. Bei, please. Nailin Rangan said to Bei Chaofei. Then she asked Bei Chaofei to sit opposite her and brewed a cup of tea for Bei Chaofei. This is a Langting tea that my father brought back from Jiangnan before he died. Please taste it. Nailin Rangan said. Bei Chaofei glanced at the tea in the cup, but did not raise his hand. Instead, he said, it's so late, it shouldn't just be to invite me to drink tea. Of course not. I want to confirm one thing with Mr. Bei, that is, whether Qin Chen of the Qin family and Wu Ming of the Blood Flag sect were killed by Mr. Bei. Nailin Rangan looked at Bei Chaofei and said, yes, they died at my hands. Bei Chaofei was not surprised at all when he heard Nailin Rangan's words. His expression was calm. While speaking, he even picked up the teacup in front of him. He took a sip gently. There was no intention to hide the killing of these two people. Looking at Beichalfa's calm expression, Nalan Rangan's eyes condensed slightly. She originally wanted to use this matter to control Beichalfa, but the other party didn't care about this matter at all. It was beyond her expectation. I don't know what you think of my proposal today, Nalan Hallmaster. I agree with your proposal, but I want to tell you one thing, that is, I have a problem of my own. If you cooperate with me, I'm afraid you will get into this trouble. My Times Hall has been able to persist until now, mainly because Li Muchen, the eldest son of the Li family, has taken a fancy to me. Heaven Hall and Byung-Sun didn't crush my Times Hall, because they were worried about him. If you cooperate with me, then Li Muchen will probably deal with you, and the death of my adoptive father was caused by the people of Heaven Hall. Nalan Rangan said. It's okay. Beichalfa put down the teacup in his hand, and just said the two words it's okay. Hearing Beichalfa's words, Nalan Rangan's beautiful eyes lit up, and she raised her cup and said, the cooperation is going well. Chapter 88, King of Slaughter vs Beishayanayu. After a while, Beichalfa left. He did not leave in a carriage, but left on his own. After a while, Kibo appeared in the bamboo house. Did the young lady reach an agreement? Yes, and King Chen and Wu Ming were indeed killed by Beichalfa. Nalan Rangan said in a deep voice. Really? In this case, they have offended the Yang family, the Qin family, the Blood Flag sect, and the Heaven Hall that is hostile to us. In this case, we have to face the four forces of the county government. This Kibo had been lucky before, but he did not expect that it was really Beichalfa who killed them. It is also possible to face the Li family and Byung-Sun. Nalan Rangan in front of him said. Kibo's face suddenly changed, feeling that things were not what he thought. Kibo, don't worry, Beichalfa has been very calm. I can't see any fluctuations in his expression. Nalan Rangan said. Let's hope. When will the young lady announce the cooperation between Times Hall and Jinfengxiayu Tower? Kibo asked. I still need to arrange for 1 or 2 days, and the announcement will be made in 3 days. Nalan Rangan stood up and said. At this time, in a secret room of manor outside King Cheng, Zihanayu looked at the map in her hand, and a look of joy appeared on her face. Miss, the map is finally completed. We should be able to return to the sect. Xiaolan said on the side. Zihanayu slowly put the map away, put it into the prepared bamboo tube, and said to Xiaolan, make another copy of the map, and send it back to the sect. The original map will stay with us. Yes, I will do it immediately. Xiaolan took the bamboo tube, and turned to leave the secret room. What is the current situation of King Lufa? Zihanayu then asked the man in black beside him. The news sent back is that King Lufa has gotten rid of the people of the secret sect in the Northern Pacification Division and is about to arrive in King Cheng. The man in black said. Returning to King Cheng, is King Lufa going to attack Beishayanayu? Hearing this, Zihanayu frowned slightly. Saint, are you worried? Beishayana유's strength is good, but he is definitely not the opponent of the King of Slaughter, said the man in black. That Beishayanayu may not be the opponent of the King of Slaughter, but there should be someone behind Beishayanayu. Once the King of Slaughter kills Beishayanayu, I'm afraid the person behind Beishayanayu will show up. We haven't left Lingnan County yet. One more enemy, one more danger for us, said Zihanayu. But we can't stop the King of Slaughter, said the man in black. In that case, we will leave after Xiaolan returns, said Zihanayu in a deep voice. She didn't want anything to happen, so she wanted to leave as soon as possible. King Cheng, Jinfengxiayu Tower. Chen Yang, dressed in plain clothes, was in Jinfengxiayu Tower. Master Bei, the county government sent a message that the left governor wanted to meet the people of your building in the county city. Tomorrow at noon, meet at the Wangayu pavilion of the county government. Chen Yang said. He didn't expect that he had just passed the message to the left governor, and he actually asked the people of Jinfengxiayu Tower to meet. The time was determined so quickly. Beishayanayu frowned slightly. It should be that Lord Zeduo Buzhengshi is more concerned about this matter, which is a good thing. Chen Yang said. Then I will notify the county government. Beishayanayu nodded. Okay. Then I will wait for good news from Master Bei. Chen Yang drank a cup of tea, then stood up and prepared to leave. Suddenly Chen Yang's expression changed. As for Bei Xianyu in the building, his eyes became sharp, and his figure appeared at the railing in the pavilion, looking at the street in front of him. The dark street. At this moment, it was silent. But there was an invisible murderous intent. Bei Xianyu raised his hand, and the long knife hanging on the wall was grabbed by him. He jumped and appeared on the street in front of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. His expression was solemn. Chen Yang and Ling Xian came to the railing and looked at the street. Ling Xian was the weakest, and the atmosphere around him made him feel extremely palpitating. When standing on the pavilion, his eyes could not help but look at Chen Yang. At this time, Chen Yang also became very solemn. The person who came simply released a powerful aura, which showed how strong the opponent was. Who could it be? Chen Yang thought to himself. At this time, on one side of the street, an old man slowly stepped out. It's him. Seeing the old man who appeared, Chen Yang's eyes condensed. He knew that the person who came was the Cold Moon Sect's Dharma King Lu Xiangxing, who was being besieged by the secret sect in the Northern Pacification Division. Cold Moon Sect Dharma King Lu Xiangxing. Ling Xian also recognized who the other party was. His expression became nervous. He had been tracking down the whereabouts of Lu Xiangxing, one of the 4 Dharma Kings of the Cold Moon Sect. He provided it to the Northern Pacification Division, but he didn't expect that the other party had returned to Qingqing at this time. Bei Xianyu stood on the street with a long knife in his hand, looking at Lu Xiangxing, who walked out and said, "Cold Moon Sect Lu Xiangxing, I have been waiting for you for a long time." While speaking, an invisible force rose from Bei Xianyu's body and stirred the air around him. The murderous sword energy spread silently on the street. A huge fighting spirit burst out from his eyes. "Wait for this, Dharma King. Do you rely on you?" Looking at the momentum emanating from Bei Xianyu, the one who appeared, Lu Xiangxing, narrowed his eyes slightly and said in a cold voice, "Swish." While speaking, his figure turned into a light and shadow and rushed straight to Bei Xianyu at an extremely amazing speed. The atmosphere that Bei Xianyu had just created was instantly broken. However, his speed was fast, and Bei Xianyu was not slow either. He chopped out the long sword in his hand without hesitation, and a sword energy of dozens of feet instantly swept out from his sword body and slashed towards the figure of Lu Xiangxing. The sword light was sharp and whistling. Before it landed, it tore deep marks on the ground. It can be seen that the sword energy was sharp and frightening. Of course, it was not only sharp, but also the speed of the sword. Lu Xiangxing's eyes condensed. He raised his hand and punched out. Boom. The fist blasted out, and a surge of fist force burst out from his fist, like a storm, with a strong and domineering wind hitting the sword energy. It directly shattered the sword energy, and then continued to rush towards Bei Xianyu. Looking at the rushing Lu Xiangxing, Bei Xianyu raised his hand and chopped it again. This time, the sword energy was like a thread, and it fell heavily with the force of splitting the river and the sea. The ground and Lu Xiangxing were completely covered by this knife. Boom. The earth shook and the dust flew. A figure flew out from the dust, with a cold light flashing in his eyes, and his robe fluttered in the air. It was Lu Xiangxing. The moment he flew out, his eyes were cold, and the black energy in his body surged out like a tide, and then his palm stretched out. Demon Senluo palm. A palm slapped out, and the palm energy formed a wave, which directly bombarded Bei Xianyu. Bei Xianyu drew his knife again, and the two forces collided together. A visible airwave swept out from the place where they fought. But then the sword energy was shattered. Lu Xiangxing stretched out his hand quickly, and Bei Xianyu retreated quickly to avoid the attack. "I didn't expect you to have some strength, but your strength is only in the middle stage of the soul refining realm. How can you be my opponent?" Lu Xiangxing looked at Bei Xianyu with cold eyes. Killing intent filled his body. Although he said so, he took the other party very seriously. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Tantric Buddhist, Monk Wu-wo. Saintis, the king of law, has fought with Bei Xianyu. Inside the secret room, the man in black holding a sword came to Zihanyu and reported. Hearing this news, Zihanyu's eyes condensed. Tell Xiaolan to hurry up, I'll go over there to check the situation. Zihanyu stood up and walked forward, but after a few steps, she suddenly stopped and said in a deep voice, we may be targeted. The man in black beside him was stunned, and he didn't understand what Zihanyu said. We know that the King of Law will return to King Chen to attack Xiaolan. You said that the people from the Northern Pacification Division and the secret sect don't know? Maybe they deliberately chased down the King of Law and waited for him here, and they may have already found us. Zihanyu said analytically. Hearing this, the man holding the sword's eyes sank. Saintis, I'll go out and take a look. You are ready to leave through the secret passage, the man holding the sword said. Zihanyu nodded and watched the man holding the sword walk out of the secret room. Inside the manor, the man holding the sword looked around and suddenly his face rose. He stopped and said in a deep voice, who is it? When he finished speaking, a white figure rushed into the manor. The man was dressed in a white monk's robe and looked very young, but the man in the black robe holding the sword suddenly changed his face when he saw him. The monk Wu Wo, a Buddhist disciple of Qinglang Temple. The man holding the sword said in a shocked tone. I didn't expect that Mr. Han actually knew me. You should know why I came. Please come out and talk to me, Saint. The young monk who appeared said. If you want to see the saint, you have to pass me first. I really want to see your strength as one of the 3 great Buddhist disciples of Qinglang Temple. Monk Wu Wo, the man in black holding the sword, while speaking, grasped the long sword in his hand, exuding a surge of sword intent, and the sword intent was filled with murderous aura. This murderous aura locked onto Monk Wu Wo in front of him. When the other party's sword energy locked onto him, Monk Wu Wo's pupils shrank slightly. When the opponent locked onto him with a sword, he could sense the opponent, locked onto all his routes of movement, and locked onto his vital points with the sword energy. He could attack at any time. Swish. The man holding the sword had a flash of light in his eyes, and then he moved and killed Monk Wu Wo. The long sword in his hand turned into sword light and enveloped Monk Wu Wo. For a moment, the manor in the night was full of sword light. Monk Wu Wo turned his feet, raised his palm, and a golden light appeared in his palm. His palm collided with the sword light. Clang clang. There was a sound of metal colliding. After the sound, the sword light became denser, like a rainstorm, attacking Monk Wu Wo. Monk Wu Wo was like a shadow, moving through the sword light, and his palm collided with the sword light from time to time, and the sound of ding dong dang dang broke out in the sword rain. For a while, the two were in a stalemate. Suddenly, the sword energy in the man holding the sword, which was originally dense, instantly converged, and a cold sword energy burst out, like a poisonous snake, piercing the selfless monk like lightning. Vajraprajna. The monk Wu Wo Wu shouted in a low voice, and a golden air shield appeared in front of him. The long sword collided with the air shield, and cracks appeared on the air shield, but the monk Wu Wo had already retreated several steps out of the attack range of the long sword. Vajra roar. The monk Wu Wo shouted in a low voice, and suddenly a thunderous roar formed a wave of air that bombarded the man holding the sword. The strong airflow, coupled with the attack of the sound wave, made his body pause. At this moment of pause, the monk Wu Wo made a move. Great Prajna palm. A palm attacked the man holding the sword. A huge energy burst out from his palm, and the strong airflow suppressed the surrounding air and made people suffocate. The man holding the sword stared. The opponent's palm covered him, locking his retreat, and he knew that, if he retreated from this move, the subsequent continuous palm power would sweep towards him like a rainstorm. His eyes turned cold. Without any evasion, he raised his palms, held the sword with both hands, and all the power in his body poured into the long sword. Then he jumped up and slashed with the sword. The sword light turned into a sword energy of several feet and attacked the opponent's palm. Bang! The two forces collided. The two figures retreated at the same time. After the retreat, the man holding the sword kicked the ground with his feet and turned to escape to another place. But when he moved his feet, a middle-aged monk in a brown monk robe appeared behind him. The middle-aged monk's skin was bronze, emitting a violent power fluctuation. Great power Vajra seal. After the monk appeared, he kicked the ground with his feet, and the whole person rushed towards the man holding the sword like an arrow. and he slapped the man holding the sword with a palm. The speed was so fast and the power was so strong that it collided with the air, making a harsh sound. The man holding the sword looked serious and immediately swung out the long sword in his hand. Bang! The sword energy collided with the palm print, and the man holding the sword was shocked and stepped back several steps. Kinglang Temple, Vajracord Precepts. The man holding the sword looked at the person who appeared, and his mind changed drastically. Leave him to me. You go chase Zihanayu. The middle-aged monk who appeared spoke. The monk Wu glanced at the man holding the sword, and his body went towards the man who just walked out of the secret room. But the man holding the sword would not let them leave. Sword key. His figure soared into the air, and then he slashed out with a sword, and the sword energy turned into a rain of swords that covered the two people. The monk Wu was also attacked by the sword energy, and could only turn around to block the sword energy, looking for death. After blocking the sword, the middle-aged monk shouted loudly, and a layer of golden light appeared around his body. The whole person rushed towards the man holding the sword like a Vajra. The sword energy was directly dispersed by him, and he appeared in front of the man holding the sword. His hands were like holding up the sky, and he clasped them together fiercely, and smashed directly towards the man holding the sword. Not good. The man holding the sword felt the huge power of this attack. He wanted to dodge this attack, but the monk who attacked him didn't give him a chance. He could only take the opponent's move. The long sword in his hand turned, and the long sword full of sword energy collided with the opponent's fist. Boom. The ground under his feet was completely shattered, blocking the fist and long sword, sending out waves of power fluctuations, making his arm feel like it was about to crack. Crack. The bones of the arm holding the sword cracked. Seeing this, the man holding the sword stepped back and switched the long sword to his left hand. Then the long sword pierced the opponent's throat like lightning, directly penetrating the incomplete shield after the opponent's attack. Suddenly, the face of the middle-aged monk who attacked changed. He wanted to block it, but the opponent's sword energy was too fast, and his palm felt that he couldn't keep up. At this time, the monk Wu Wei, who was about to step into the room, raised his palm, and a suction force appeared, sucking the middle-aged monk's body out, and then he dodged the sword. But after the sword-holding man attacked, he did not stop at all, and continued to move forward. The Wu monk tiptoed and floated out, grabbing the long sword with a strong energy in his palm. On the other side, the middle-aged monk who dodged the attack burst out with a strong energy, and turned his hands, and a low thundering sound appeared in his hands. Vajra thunder. After the Wu monk blocked the sword, he slapped out with his palm, directly hitting the opponent's chest. Bang. The sword-holding man flew backwards. Puff. A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. Chapter 90. The Three Brutal Abyssy Swords. The monk Wu pushed open the door. He looked around, searching for the switch of the secret room. After a while, the door of the secret room was opened, but Zihanayu was no longer inside. After checking, he flashed out of the secret room. He came to the courtyard. At this time, the man holding the sword had no breath. After being injured, he cut off his heart veins. He didn't want to be caught by the Buddhist disciples and locked up in the demon prison tower. Buddha, that Zihanayu? The middle-aged monk asked. She escaped. She should have been discovered in advance and used people to stop us. The saint of the Hanayu sect is really extraordinary. The monk Wu said. We won't pursue the passage behind the secret room. The middle-aged monk couldn't help asking. There are 3 passages in the underground secret room. All the traces have been wiped out. It's difficult to find her. Let's go and see the battle between Lu Xiangxing and Bei Xianayu of Jinfengxiayu Tower. Monk Wu Wei said. Then the two disappeared in the manor. A long time later, a black figure appeared in the manor, looked at the dead man holding the sword on the ground, sighed, raised his hand, and grabbed the other's body. Appeared outside the manor, slapped his hand. A pit appeared on the ground, put the body and the long sword into the pit, buried it and left quickly. She also wanted to see the fight between Lu Xiangxing and Bei Xianayu. At this time, outside the Jinfengxiayu building, Bei Xianayu and Lu Xiangxing stood opposite each other. After the first move, the two fought a few times, and Lu Xiangxing was unable to take down Bei Xianayu. But it also consumed Bei Xianayu's energy. If you continue to fight, Bei Xianayu will be defeated sooner or later. At this time in the dark, an old man and an old monk in grey monk robes spoke. This old man was Pei Xiangsu, the housekeeper of Yan Yu of the Northern Pacification Division. The old man in monk robes beside him had a string of Buddhist beads hanging around his neck. The beads reflected a strange halo under the moonlight. Yes, Bei Xianyu's strength is a little bit worse than Lu Xiangxing. Should we take action? The old monk said. No, Bei Xianyu's origin is not simple. The aura on his body can only appear when he has been in a superior position for a long time. This person is not as simple as we think. I really want to see what will happen if he is killed by Lu Xiangxing. Of course, even if he is in a weak position now, it does not mean that he is not a threat. It is the most advantageous for us to lose both, Pei Xiangsu said. Then he looked at Bei Xianyu. He really wanted to see what other means Bei Xianyu had. Boom. The two separated their palms and knives. The energy in your body is about to be consumed by me. You will die today. Lu Xiangxing laughed. If I die, I'm afraid you can't leave. There are people around watching you? Bei Xianyu said coldly. I know them. I dared to come. Of course I have a way to leave, Lu Xiangxing said. When they were fighting, he sensed the arrival of the two. Is that so? Then I'll have to take a chance and see if you can take these 3 swords. Bei Xianyu's aura began to change. Holding the sword in his hand, a terrifying aura emerged behind Bei Xianyu. These auras formed a demonic shadow, emitting a chill that made people's blood freeze, and his eyes even emitted a terrifying murderous light, like a demon in hell. This sword force. Lu Xiangxing's eyes condensed. 3 swords of the Abyssy path. He didn't expect that Bei Xianyu would actually know the 3 swords of the Abyssy path. At this time, a figure in the dark looked at Bei Xianyu's aura and his eyes condensed. You only know the first sword? The figure stared at Bei Xianyu with surprise in his eyes. Pei Xiangsu, who had been watching the battle before, looked at the old monk with surprise in his eyes. 3 swords of the Abyssy path. Bei Xianyu actually knows this sword technique. The 3 swords of the Abyssy path are fierce sword techniques, mainly for killing. The sword energy was so sharp that few people could resist it. Moreover, Bei Xianyu was a master of swordsmanship. The power of the 3 swords of the Abyssy Dao was definitely not simple. This Lu Xiangxing has met a tough guy. Pei Xiangsu smiled. At this time, 2 figures appeared beside them. The two looked at the 2 people fighting on the street with serious eyes, and their hearts were throbbing. No gain, Pei Xiangsu said. 1 person died. Zihanayu escaped and should have left, Monk Wu Wo said in a deep voice. After speaking, his eyes continued to stare at Bei Xianyu on the street, mainly because Bei Xianyu's sword energy was too strong. At this time, Bei Xianyu's body was actually getting stronger and stronger, and the sword energy like evil spirit condensed and burst out. The originally dark sky suddenly became a layer, and a cold and ruthless sword intent spread out on the street. Lu Xiangxing, who was opposite him, felt cold all over and felt the coldness around him and had locked his sword intent. If this sword was cut down, it would be absolutely powerful. Lu Xiangxing let out a low roar, and a cold demonic aura appeared around him. His long hair was flying, and his ki was flowing. Boom. At this moment, Bei Xianyu drew his sword. Lu Xiangxing only felt a dazzling appearance in front of him, and he was whistling with terrifying murderous aura. Fast. Too fast. At this moment, Lu Xiangxing seemed to be unable to keep up with the speed of raising his fist. He could only roar, and the ki in his body swarmed out, trying to affect the sword light. Bang! The sword aura collided with his burst of ki and directly killed him. He continued to move forward towards him. At this moment, he caught up with the speed and raised his fist to punch out. The fist collided with the sword aura. Lu Xiangxing's figure was shocked and retreated several steps. The palm that was blasted out was bloody. The palm trembled. His eyes looked at Bei Xianyu, but he found that Bei Xianyu's aura rose again, and the second knife in his hand was about to chop down. Suddenly, his pupils shrank. In the dark, the black-clothed man who was observing had a look of horror in his eyes. Second move? How could he have a second move? He couldn't believe it. Roar. Heavenly Demon Frost Moon Fist. Boom. Lu Xiangxing didn't retreat, but rushed forward. His violent figure, powerful cold air, bombarded Bei Xianyu. At this time, Bei Xianyu's second knife slashed out. It collided with Lu Xiangxing's fist. Lu Xiangxing's figure was chopped and fell to his knees. Then the huge force shook his body away, and his knees dragged to long bloody marks on the ground. The palm of the fist became even worse, and only some white bones could be seen, and large pieces of blood fell. A bloody crack also appeared on his arm. Lu Xiangxing's face looked hideous because of the pain. "Take my third knife." At this time, Bei Xianyu looked at Lu Xiangxing with cold eyes. He wanted to take the opportunity to kill the other party. Boom. The third knife continued to slash out. Ah! The repelled Lu Xiangxing roared. Demonic energy surged into the sky. His eyes were icy cold, and he kneeled down, then exerted force, and soared into the sky, slapping the third knife that was coming towards him. Chapter 91 Characters. Invincible Sect Master, Dugu Wudi. The third knife. The knife energy formed a fierce aura that burst out like a wave. The terrifying knife power enveloped the world, making everyone watching the battle feel a fatal threat. Lu Xiangxing, who was in this knife, felt even more. His palm collided with the knife energy, and the energy was directly shattered by the knife energy, and the knife light continued to move forward. After one knife, Bei Xianyu's strength seemed to disappear. He used the knife to support the ground and stabilize his body. Lu Xiangxing was chopped out again, and his body flew backwards and hit the ground, leaving a deep mark. A huge wound appeared on his chest, and the flesh and bones were exposed. The blood flowed out of the wound uncontrollably. Puff! A mouthful of blood spurted out of his mouth. In the dark, the man in black who watched this scene turned and left. It was difficult to leave with such a serious injury. Cough cough. Coughing blood, Lu Xiangxing stood up again and looked at Bei Xianyu holding the knife with unwilling eyes. He didn't expect that he would be defeated by the opponent. He never thought about it. He endured the injuries on his body and looked at Bei Xianyu with a sinister look. "You have no strength left. I can kill you if I go over now." Lu Xiangxing looked at Bei Xianyu and said coldly, "Really? But I don't think you can kill me." Bei Xianyu said calmly, "I can't kill you. Are you talking about the people in the dark? They should be waiting for me to kill you before they start." Lu Xiangxing said coldly, "They? I didn't say they. Do you know where this is? This is King Cheng, the place where my Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower is in charge. Kill." At this time, Ling Xian fell from the pavilion and shouted in a low voice. In the shops on both sides of the street, the doors were all broken, and dozens of figures rushed out with knives. When they saw Lu Xiangxing, they rushed towards him without any hesitation. Seeing this scene, Lu Xiangxing's face changed. When he was stunned, a man suddenly rolled over from the ground, and the knife in his hand chopped directly at his feet with a fierce speed. Seeing this, Lu Xiangxing moved his feet. He clenched his fists and punched the opponent's head. However, the action was a bit violent, and the wound on his chest was pulled. The pain slowed down his long fist. At this moment, another man with a knife slashed at his arm. Boom. The key flowed through his arm and blocked the knife. But the man with the knife rolled on the ground, turned the knife in his hand, and swung the knife directly between Lu Xiangxing's legs. The speed was so fast. Swish. The knife flashed, and Lu Xiangxing screamed. Swish. While he screamed, the other people who had surrounded him all slashed at him with their long knives. The remaining key blocked most of the attacks, but still left several knife marks. The severe pain made him roar. However, the guy who attacked from the ground succeeded in one strike, but he didn't stop and continued to move towards the opponent's previous position. Because he was attacked all over his body, the key on his body had weakened, and the knife light shattered his key and fell between his two sides again. The severe pain made his body fall directly to the ground. He let out a miserable cry. But his scream did not receive any sympathy from anyone, as he was chopped by dozens of long swords that followed. He soon lost his breath. Seeing this scene, the faces of the people watching the battle changed drastically. They did not expect that the Dharma King of Hanyu sect was brutally hacked to death by some low-level warriors. This was simply unimaginable. The end of a master of a generation would be so tragic. Pei Xiangsu and the old monk looked at each other and sighed. His figure fell directly onto the street. They looked at Lu Xiangxing, who was chopped into meat paste with only a head left. He said to Bei Xianyu, Master Bei, this Lu Xiangxing is the Dharma king of Hanyu sect, and he is the person that RB's Hen Fu division has been chasing. Please let us take his body back. Of course, the reward for killing Lu Xiangxing will be delivered to you tomorrow. Pei Xiangsu said. Who are you? Bei Xianyu did not care about the reward, but asked the old man's name. I'm Pei Xiangsu, the counselor of the Northern Pacification Division. The old man gave his name. In that case, you can leave with the body, but send the reward as soon as possible. Bei Xianyu looked at Pei Xiangsu and said. This guy had arrived a long time ago, but he had not taken action, thinking that Lu Xiangxing would kill him, and then they would take action against Lu Xiangxing. But he did not expect that his strength exceeded their expectations. He took a look at the bloody Lu Xiangxing. Take it away. Bei Xianyu said in a deep voice. At this time, Ling Xian supported Bei Xianyu back to the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Pei Xiangsu glanced at Bei Xianyu's back, thought for a moment, and turned around, and left with Lu Xiangxing's head. The next day, Su Chen got up from the bed. He planned to go to the main peak today, to upgrade his level to a first-class inner disciple. As long as he became an inner disciple, he could enter the sutra library and choose two cultivation methods. Of course, his main purpose of going to the sutra library was not for the cultivation methods, but to trigger the rewards. Now he has 4 white lottery cards. He also drew a lot of white lottery cards, most of which were basic elixirs. If he wanted to get good things, he would need luck. The blue lottery card helped him draw Bei Chao Fei the first time. Maybe he could draw good things the second time. He left his courtyard and headed towards the main peak. The main peak was a distance away from Xianluo Peak. The main peak. The disciple hall. This is where the main peak assesses first-class disciples. Although Su Chen had just cultivated the 5th level of Shangong, his internal strength had now reached the late Xianshan stage. As long as he showed the strength of the late Xianshan stage, Su Chen would be able to obtain a place as a first-class inner disciple. The disciple hall was very deserted. There were 2 people guarding here, an old man and a young man about the same age as Su Chen. The 2 were playing chess. When Su Chen walked in, the old man and the young man didn't even look at Su Chen. There is a blue crystal ball on the table over there. You pour the true energy in your body into the crystal ball. When the energy of the crystal ball reaches 1/3, you can become a first-class inner disciple. An old voice sounded in Su Chen's ears. Su Chen glanced at the 2 people playing chess, said nothing, and walked towards the blue crystal. After all, Su Chen only knows a little bit about chess, so he can't pretend, so he'd better not go over. He came to the crystal ball and put his hand down. A stream of energy flowed from his palm to the blue crystal. Suddenly, the blue crystal flickered, and after a few flickers, the blue was covered by a layer of power on half of the sphere. It's almost the late stage of innate energy. Register it in that book, and take out the first-class inner disciple token from the box next to it, and come to me. The old man's voice sounded in Su Chen's ears. Become a first-class inner disciple of Shanman. Temporarily occupy a foothold in Shanman, and be rewarded with 2 white lottery cards, and randomly obtain the Dugu Wudi character card. Dugu Wudi character card, the first villain in Xian Canbian, Wu Demon, the leader. Su Chen recalled the information about Dugu Wudi. Chapter 92, Installation, Slashing the Heaven and Earth. Then he checked the information of Dugu Wudi. Dugu Wudi, the leader of Xian Canbian Wudi sect, whose strength is at the peak of the soul refining realm, and is about to break through to the soul and spirit integration realm. He practices the extinction demon art and demon disintegration art. Seeing this information, Su Chen seemed very excited. At the peak of the soul refining realm, he is about to break through to the soul and spirit integration realm. Such strength is a timely reign for him. Don't be excited, register quickly. The old man's voice continued to ring in Su Chen's ears. Su Chen immediately registered his name, and then took out the first-class inner disciple token from the box, and walked towards the old man. Name: Su Chen. The Chen of the stars. The old man raised his hand and grabbed it, and the token in Su Chen's hand appeared in his hand. Then the other party swiped his fingers a few times, and gave the token to Su Chen. Su Chen was taking the token, and the 2 words Su Chen were engraved on the token, and a hint of joy appeared on his face. You can go to the sutra library to choose 2 exercises. Su Chen thanked the old man and went straight to the sutra library. Lingnan County was more complicated than he thought. Although there is now an extra Dugu Wudi, it is not very safe, so he still has to brush the sutra library. Soon Su Chen came to the sutra library. Show the first class in a disciple token. This senior brother, the first and second floors of the sutra library, choose 2 secret books. The time is 1 hour after selecting. Register with me, and you will have 1 month to practice this technique in the future. Of course, you can also choose a technique, and then choose the next one after 2 months. The disciple guarding the sutra library said, "Okay, I understand." Su Chen nodded, and went into the building. There is only 1 hour, so he needs to make good use of all the time. Then he looked at a book, Tai 5 Element Fist, no reaction, put it down, and continue. When Su Chen saw that he put down the 10th book, a technique called Sunlight Heart Sutra appeared in front of him. Discover a special body training martial arts. Reward 3 white lottery cards. 3 white lottery cards. Su Chen looked stunned. When I discovered the Heavenly Frost Fist, I only got 2 copies. Could it be that this Sunlight Heart Sutra is stronger than the Heavenly Frost Fist? Open it directly. The body is a furnace that can contain everything. The sun is the root of heaven and earth. When it is integrated into the body, it is stronger than everything in heaven and earth. This is a method of absorbing the energy of the sun into the body. The person who created this method had a very bold idea. However, on the first page, a few words were written. To practice this method, you need a strong body, otherwise the yang energy will be too heavy and the body will explode and die. The person who created this method died from this method. I practiced myself to death. Su Chen looked at this introduction and couldn't help shaking his head. However, he had a strong body and might be able to practice this method. Su Chen felt something strange in his heart. He put this method aside first and then continued to search, but it didn't trigger on the first floor. There was nothing here, so he went to the second floor. When he entered the second floor, Su Chen's eyes condensed. There were some paintings hanging on the wall of the second floor. The painting showed a person chopping a knife. When he was concentrating on the portrait, a vague figure appeared in his mind. The figure slashed with a knife, and the world became dark and the rivers split. It was very domineering. Discover the ultimate sword move, Heaven and Earth slash. Reward 3 white lottery cards, Heaven and Earth slash practice experience infusion. This, Su Chen didn't expect to get the practice experience of Heaven and Earth slash in addition to the lottery card. He started to infuse the practice experience of Heaven and Earth slash. Suddenly, Su Chen's mind appeared the scene of his hard practice of this sword technique, repeatedly slashing with a knife every day. Although it was very dull, as time went by, the power of the slash continued to increase. You are really fierce for staring at the portrait when you come here. If you look at this painting too much, your mind will be exhausted. At that time, it will be very slow to recover, and it is also possible that your mind will be traumatized and cannot recover. A man in a green shirt beside him said. He also wore the token of the first class in a disciple of Shanman on his waist. Su Chen was brought back to his senses by his words. I'm Su Chen. Thank you for your reminder, senior brother. I don't know what your name is. Luking Guan from Xianzhen Courtyard, Xianluo Peak. Junior brother Su, where are you from? I'm also from Xianluo Peak, and was assigned to Xiangsu Courtyard by the Internal Affairs Hall. Su Chen said. Xiangsu Courtyard. It seems that junior brother didn't give anything to the Internal Affairs Hall, so he assigned you to Xiangsu Courtyard. Luking Guan said softly. Yes, senior brother, I still need to find some secret books. Go and choose the secret books first. There are only 2 hours left. Su Chen must speed up to see if he can trigger more things. Okay. Luking Guan nodded. Su Chen began to look for them row by row. Seeing Su Chen's look, Luking Guan wanted to give some advice, but thinking that their respective practices were different, he decided not to give advice to each other. Discover the Buddhist technique, Bodhidharma's visualization method, and reward 3 white lottery cards. There is no reward for infusion this time. Su Chen put the Buddhist technique aside and continued to search. Then it was triggered 3 times in succession, and 8 white lottery cards were obtained, but no more rewards were obtained. He looked towards the corridor on the 3rd floor. He thought that, if he could go up there, he might be able to get some free stuff. The 3rd floor, his level was not high enough, so he could not go up. He decided to come back, when he had time, and directly choose Sunlight Heart Sutra, on the 1st floor. This could be matched with his body training method to make his body stronger. After the disciple registered for Chen began to record the method. Perhaps it was the fusion of the 2 souls. Chen felt that his memory was much better than before, and he recorded the Sunlight Heart Sutra in a short time. Then he returned to his own courtyard. When Chen returned to the courtyard, a errant disciple was waiting at the door. "Brother Su, someone sent a letter from the mountain." The errand boy handed the letter to Chen. Chen opened the letter. "County Government, Chiangxiang Pavilion, 3rd floor, Xiangan Hall. Bei Chaofei is looking for me. It seems that something is wrong." Chen took a look at the letter, packed it up briefly, and headed down the mountain. Chiangxiang Pavilion, one of the 3 largest restaurants in the county city. Bei Chaofei was sitting in a room, standing with his hands behind his back, looking at the street outside the window. Dada. There was a knock on the door. Bei Chaofei closed the window, turned around and opened the door. A man in black and a bamboo hat walked in. It was Chen who came out of the Shan gate. "Meet the master." Bei Chaofei saluted Chen. "What's the matter?" Chen asked. "Master, Tian's Hall will announce its cooperation with my Jinfengxiayu Tower in 2 days. Also, there is a letter from King Cheng, saying that Lu Xiangxing is dead, and the county government's left governor wants to see me at Wangayu Pavilion." While speaking, Bei Chaofei handed a letter to Chen. "Lu Xiangxing is dead." Chen was puzzled. He opened the letter. When he saw the content inside, he was shocked. He didn't expect that the Hanayu sect's Dharma King Lu Xiangxing was hacked to death in the end. It's really ironic. Chapter 93, Man and Sword Become One, Liu Shengyijian, Immortal Dragon, Leng Hushan. Lu Xiangxing is dead. He was killed by the knifeman arranged by Jinfengxiai Lao. If Hanayu sect knew about this, it would surely stir up a big wave. However, it has already happened, and Chen doesn't want to think about it. He will deal with it as soon as possible. Nalan Rangan of Tian's Hall agreed to cooperate, so they should be in big trouble. Chen said. Nalan Rangan was favored by Li Muchen, the eldest son of the Li family, and the previous Tian's Hall master should have died at the hands of Heffen Hall. Bei Chaofei said in a deep voice. The Li family is the first family in Lingnan County. Li Muchen, the eldest son of the Li family, is the chief disciple of Lingayu Sword Sect. Hearing this, some information about Li Muchen appeared in Chen's mind. It's not a small trouble. Chen said softly. Then how did you arrange the left governor? Chen asked afterwards. We agreed to meet at the moon viewing pavilion at noon today, but I waited outside the courtyard of the left governor for a whole morning, and didn't see the governor leave. So I didn't go to the moon viewing pavilion. Bei Chaofei said. It seems that someone is plotting against you. Do you know who it is? I'm investigating. But once we cooperate with Tian's Hall, and I show up again, the people in the county government will guess that the matter in Qingcheng is related to my Jinfengxiayu Tower. I'm afraid the other party will attack us later. Bei Chaofei said. No matter what, someone will attack us. We will fight back. Chen said coldly. Bei Chaofei's appearance actually shows a lot of things. Jinfengxiayu Tower has a hidden power, so the matter in Qingcheng cannot be separated from it. Jinfengxiayu Tower must be dealt with. Thinking of this, Chen thought of the 20 white lottery cards he had swiped in the past few days, and directly exchanged them for 2 blue lottery cards. The last time he drew a blue lottery card, he drew Bei Chaofei. If you can draw a character from the blue lottery card, the strength will be at least the same level as Bei Chaofei. Just draw these 2 blue lottery cards. The host obtains the Human Sword Integration Liu Shengyijian Character Experience card, valid for 1 day, and obtains the character, the Immortal Dragon, Leng Hushan. This, Chen felt that his luck had really exploded today. Although Liu Shengyijian was only a character experience card, the strength of Immortal Dragon Leng Hushan should be absolutely extraordinary. Liu Shengyijian Jiangxiu Jianghu, a heartless sword cultivator, challenged the entire Central Plains martial arts world with his own swordsmanship, and his strength was absolutely strong. Immortal Dragon Leng Hushan, a figure in the four famous detectives fighting generals, the general leader of the Dalian Alliance. Check it out immediately. Sure enough, the introductions of the two here made Su Chen secretly happy. The soul spirit integration close to the peak of soul refining. Three masters close to the soul spirit integration realm suddenly appeared. The power of Lingnan County. Let's see how you can not be afraid. Su Chen said in a deep voice. Three people suddenly appeared, and they were all close to the unity of spirit and soul. It can make the other party shocked by the strength of the forces behind the Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower. Sometimes the unknown makes people more terrifying. Don't worry, I have arranged everything here. Tell Nailin Rangan of Times Hall that everything can be solved. Su Chen said to Bei Chalfei. My lord, are there any masters here? Bei Chalfei heard this and spoke. Three masters close to the unity of spirit and soul. Su Chen said. Then I will make good arrangements. After this, all the forces in Lingnan County can feel the power of our Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower. Bei Chalfei's eyes flashed. The Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower in Lingnan County was handed over to him. Bei Chalfei. If he can kill the people who came this time and shock the forces of Lingnan County, it will be very beneficial to him. Then I will go and make arrangements. Now that he has the confidence, the Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower will appear in Lingnan County in a high-profile manner. The two talked for a while, and Su Chen left the restaurant. Bei Chalfei went to Times Hall to discuss the building with Malin Rangan. Another place. Lingnan County North Pacification Division. Yang Yu looked at the report from Pei Xiangsu in front of him, his eyes fixed. Did something happen to my father? Yan Duanshu, who was below him, saw the change in Yan Yu's expression and asked. Take a look. Yan Yu handed the letter in his hand to Yan Duanshu. When Yan Duanshu saw the content of the letter, his pupils suddenly shrank, and his face showed shock. Lu Xiangxing was hacked to death just like that. He couldn't believe what he saw. Lu Xiangxing, one of the four Dharma kings of Hanyu sect, was finally hacked to death by the knifeman of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. This is very shocking. Yes, Lu Xiangxing's death was a bit aggrieved, but this also shows that Bei Xianyu is not simple, and there must be a force behind him. Otherwise he would not dare to kill Lu Xiangxing. We need to pay attention to this Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Yan Yu said in a deep voice. Father, I've been investigating the cause of my third brother's death recently, and I feel that it may be related to the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Yan Duanshu said. Why? Yan Yu looked at Yan Duanshu and said. The Golden Wind and Rain Tower is the one that benefited the most in King Cheng. I feel that it is unlikely that Yanshu and his men's deaths have anything to do with the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Yan Duanshu said. But the Golden Wind and Rain Tower has no motive to kill them. Yan Yu asked back. That's right, so I'm investigating. Yan Duanshu said. Are there no other clues? Yan Yu asked in a deep voice. Another suspect is Su Chen from the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. It's just that this person is a little weak, and he has already returned to the mountain and river gate. Yan Duanshu said. Su Chen, the son of the former owner of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Yan Yu said casually. Yes, there was news from King Cheng. He used the position of the owner of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower to ask Bei Xianyu to destroy the Lei family. The position of the owner of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower alone can be used to deal with the Lei family, but it is unlikely to deal with the power of our county government. That's why I didn't do anything to him. Yan Duanshu frowned and said. After Peleo comes back, let him help you investigate this matter. Yan Yu said. At this time, a piece of news was also spread in Lingnan County. Bei Xianyu fought against one of the four Dharma kings of Hanyu sect, Lu Xiangxing, and seriously injured him, and then sent a knifeman to kill Lu Xiangxing. This news spread quickly. Perhaps it was promoted by someone with a purpose, and it soon spread throughout the county. Yang family, Qinlin, the head of the Qin family, Zhu Xian, the deputy head of the Blood Flag sect, and Yang Mao, the head of the Yang family, met together. The three looked solemn. Did the other party not show up because he noticed something? Kinlin said in a deep voice. It's hard to say. Maybe it has something to do with Bei Xianyu's battle with Lu Xiangxing. I didn't expect Bei Xianyu to be so strong. He faced Lu Xiangxing head on, but he was defeated and died in Qingcheng. It's really sad. Yang Mao said in a deep voice. This is a good thing for us. Lu Xiangxing died in Qingcheng in such a miserable way. How could Hanyu sect not deal with Bei Xianyu? This can completely let them take the lead in dealing with Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower and test the details of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Yang Mao continued. Chapter 94 Joining forces to cause trouble. Zihanayu, Nailin Rangan. Hearing Yang Mao's words, the other two fell into deep thought. You mean we don't take action, but wait and see what happens? Zhu Xian said, after thinking for a moment. It's not waiting and seeing what happens, but taking action when we see an opportunity. Yang Mao said. At this time, a servant came in from outside, holding an invitation in his hand. Master, this is an invitation from Tian's Hall. The servant handed the invitation to the master Yang Mao. Tian's Hall, they want to give me an invitation. Could it be that Nailin Rangan from Tian's Hall is going to marry Li Muchen? Yang Mao opened the invitation with some doubts. Then his face became gloomy and ugly. Seeing Yang Mao's face change, Kinlin and Zhu Xian were a little confused. You should have received such an invitation too. Yang Mao handed the invitation to Kinlin. Kinlin and Zhu Xian took a look at the content of the invitation, and their faces changed. No wonder Bei Chaofei didn't come. It turns out that they have taken down Tian's Hall, but isn't Nailin Rangan under the care of Li Muchen? Why would they cooperate with Jinfeng Xiaolao? Kinlin said in a deep voice. Li Muchen not only wants to get the person, but also wants to get Tian's Hall. How could Nailin Rangan let him succeed? I guess this time she hopes to get rid of Li Muchen with the help of Jinfeng Xiaolao, and probably reach some agreement with Jinfeng Xiaolao. Yang Mao said. In this case, Jinfeng Xiaolao will be established in 2 days, and it will probably be a bit lively. Bei Chaofei on this invitation should be the person of Jinfeng Xiaolao in the county government. What do you say we should do? Zhu Xian's eyes flashed. Do I need to say more? Of course we are giving them a big gift. The cooperation between Jinfeng Xiaolao and Xian Satang means that they will not follow the line of Zhuo Hengshi. No one will say anything if we take action. Maybe by then, it will not be just us who will take action. I will contact Hefengtang and Biangsun. The cooperation between Jinfeng Xiaolao and Xian Satang will have the greatest impact on them. They don't want to be swallowed up in the end, so they can only join forces. By the way, from the previous situation, we analyzed that the people who killed Qin Hao and Xianlin were from Jinfeng Xiaolao. Do you think that the third young master Yan was also killed by the people of Jinfeng Xiaolao? Whether he is or not, we need to guide this to them. It is rumored that Yan Duanshu is investigating this matter. I will go to see him. Kinlin said in a deep voice. Hearing this, several people looked at each other, with sinister eyes flashing in their eyes. With such a lineup, how can Jinfeng Xiaolao take root in Lingnan County? Xian Satang. In a pavilion. Qi boasted in front of Nailin Rangan with a bad face. Miss, the invitations have been sent out. I have a clue that the Yang family, the Qin family, and the Blood Flag sect are preparing to join forces with the Hefeng Hall and the Biangsuan to attack together. Also, they want to direct Yanshu's death to the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, and want the Northern Pacification Office to deal with the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower together. Kibo said, a trace of cold sweat on his forehead. So many forces united together. It's a bit scary. Nailin Rangan heard this, and her expression was not good. Pass this news to Bei Chaofei, and see what he thinks. Nailin Rangan said. Any of these families can suppress the Tian's Hall, so now it can only be Bei Chaofei and his team to solve this matter. She believes that the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower will pay attention to this matter. If the opening of the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower is unsuccessful this time, it will be difficult to open the building again. Kibo nodded, and turned to leave. After the old man left, Nailin Rangan slowly stood up, and looked outside the building. Kibo just missed something. That is the Hanyu sect. One of the 4 Dharma kings, Lu Xiangxing, was hacked to death in Qingcheng. This is an absolute shame. The Hanyu sect will not take action. Bei Chaofei, I really want to see how you face so many forces. If you can hold on this time, Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower will become one of the top forces in Lingnan County. If you can't stop it, not only will you disappear, but my times hall will also disappear. This time the gamble is a bit big. Nalan Rangan said softly. Not long after, Kibo, who had left earlier, returned. Behind him was a man wearing a black robe, covering his face. Seeing this man, Nalan Rangan's eyes condensed. Uncle Fu, evacuate all the people around the pavilion. Nalan Rangan said. Yes. Kibo bowed and left. After Kibo left, Nalan Rangan closed all the surrounding windows. Inside the house, the man in black took off the black robe he was wearing, revealing Zihanayu's face. You look so exhausted. Did you come from King Cheng overnight? Nalan Rangan looked at Zihanayu and said. Yes, I really came from King Cheng overnight. You are not suitable to come here now. I'm being targeted. Nalan Rangan said. It doesn't matter. I believe I can leave you. If you can't do this, you are not Nalan Rangan. Zihanayu looked at Nalan Rangan and said. You came here. Are you just flattering me? No, I want to know why you cooperate with Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. There is no choice. I also want to take a gamble. Your Hanayu sect will not have any masters coming. Nalan Rangan asked. I can tell you that the first Dharma King of the 4 Dharma Kings came this time, and he should have gone directly to King Cheng. But as soon as your news came out, I believe the first Dharma King will definitely come here. Zihanayu said. The first Dharma King, isn't he afraid that the people of the Northern Pacification Division will attack him? Nalan Rangan said. The head of Lu Xiangxing is in the Northern Pacification Division. If they don't want to intensify the conflict, the people of the Northern Pacification Division won't take action. What's more, the Northern Pacification Division may also take action against the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Are you sure you want to take this gamble? You have never been an impulsive person. Zihanayu looked at Nalan Rangan. There is no choice. Li Muchen not only wants to get my people, but also the Times Hall. The Golden Wind and Rain Tower only wants the Times Hall, not me. What's more, even if Li Muchen gets me and the Times Hall, he won't help me get revenge. But Bei Chaofei agreed to help me get revenge. Also, don't you think the Golden Wind and Rain Tower didn't think of these? They opened the building at this time. They should be prepared. Ranlan Rangan said. It seems that you know a lot about the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Then I came here for the right reason. I want to know the situation of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower. Hearing this, Zihanayu spoke. This is also the purpose of her coming here. I don't know that. I have only met Bei Chaofei from Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower twice. If you want to investigate, you can go to see him, but you must bring at least a strong man in the middle stage of soul refining with you. Otherwise, you might die, said Nalan Rangan. Chapter 95, Chiangsu and Arsenal, Shanzhen Wujin. After hearing what Nalan Rangan said, Zihanayu's eyes condensed and asked, does Bei Chaofei have a strong desire to kill? He has a strong desire to kill, and this person is ruthless. If you go, he may attack you. Nalan Rangan said. Then how strong is Bei Chaofei? Zihanayu was very concerned about this. I don't know the specific strength of him, but I know that Qin Chen of the Qin family and Wu Ming of the Blood Flag sect died under his finger. Nalan Rangan said in a deep voice, is Bei Chaofei the finger master? After hearing what Nalan Rangan said, Zihanayu's face showed surprise. Qin Chen and Wu Ming were killed on the way to King Cheng. Many people are wondering who did it. Unexpectedly, it was the people of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. But this seems a bit against their interests. Zihanayu couldn't understand why Bei Chaofei wanted to kill Qin Han and others. Although Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower might be very strong, there is no need to offend several forces in the county government. I don't know the details. Maybe it's just to expand the reputation of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Nalan Rangan said. Reputation? It's unlikely. Zihanayu shook her head and said in disbelief. In this world, if you are strong, your reputation will naturally spread, and there is no need to kill the people of the Qin family and the Blood Flag sect. Then it can only be that there are too many forces in the county government. Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower wants to get a share of the county government, so it must eliminate some forces. Nalan Rangan said in a deep voice. After hearing Nalan Rangan's words, Zihanayu didn't say anything. They were just guessing, and the details still needed to be seen. Can you take me to see Bei Chao Fei? Zihan Yu looked at Nalan Rangan and said, this is really not possible. I'm really afraid that he will do something to you, and I can't save you. Nalan Rangan's expression was firm. It's okay to reveal some information to Zihan Yu, because these things will be spread sooner or later. But it's a bit unlikely to take Zihan Yu to see Bei Chao Fei. You don't have to take me, but you can help me make an appointment with Bei Chao Fei to see if he is willing to see me. Zihan Yu said, I can help you with this. This time Nalan Rangan did not refuse. The two chatted for a few words, and Zihan Yu left from the secret passage of the manor. Today, Tan's Hall is very popular. If Zihan Yu goes out from the main gate, she will be stared at closely. On the other side, Su Chen left from Bei Chao Fei's side. Du Guwudi and Leng Hushan stayed with Bei Chao Fei. The news that Bei Chao Fei opened the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower in the county government has been released. I believe that many people will focus their attention on him. In this case, someone may test him. With Du Guwudi and Leng Hushan by his side, there is no such thing as a one-off. In a dark place, Su Chen changed back into his clothes and headed towards Shan Gate. On the way back, Su Chen was thinking in his heart that he needed to get a sword. Liu Shengyejian is a master of swordsmanship. Now that he has obtained Liu Shengyejian's experience card, how can he do without a sword? And the quality of the sword cannot be bad. Speaking of swords, Su Chen thought of the Li family. The Li family in Lingnan County hides countless swords. It is rumored that there is a sword hiding peak in the back mountain of the Li family. Why is the Lingnan Li family called the first family in Lingnan? That is because the Li family is not only good at forging swords, but also has extraordinary talent in swordsmanship. Otherwise, Li Muchen would not have become the eldest disciple of the Lingayu sword school. It's a bit late to go to the Li family to get a sword now. Su Chen shook his head. It would be great if there was a strengthening card. In this way, if you buy an ordinary long sword and strengthen it, you can get a good sword. I couldn't think of a good way. I went back to Shan Gate first. I was going to go to the Sutra library on the main peak again tomorrow to use up the second chance to choose secret books. See if I can find some more skills and make some money. On the way back to his own courtyard, Su Chen met Qi Yulinger from Xiangsu courtyard. Qi Yulinger saw Su Chen. Her eyes lit up and came to Su Chen and said, I have a job here. Are you willing to do it? Su Chen didn't want to do any job. He was ready to shake his head, but before he shook his head, Qi Yulinger said, the armory of Xiangsu needs someone to manage it. Don't you like to read martial arts secrets? How about you manage it? I'm giving this task to you, because I like you. Su Chen was stunned when he heard this. He didn't expect such a good thing to happen. He only had one chance to go to the Sutra library in the main hall, so he only had one chance to get some money. But if he was in charge of the armory of Xiangsu, he could read the martial arts inside. He would definitely be able to trigger some secrets and get rewards. Are you unwilling to do this? Qi Yulinger saw that Su Chen stayed there motionless after she spoke and couldn't help asking. Of course I'm willing. Su Chen said hurriedly. He didn't want to miss such an opportunity. Okay, this is the key to the armory of the other courtyard. After tomorrow, you will go there. Of course, it doesn't matter if you go there once every few days, but try to go at the beginning of the month. Qi Yulinger took out a key from her arms and gave it to Su Chen. One for you and one for me. When you are not here, I will help you deal with anything. After saying that, Qi Yulinger waved to Su Chen and left. Su Chen, holding the key, went directly to the direction of the armory without stopping. After Su Chen left, Qi Yulinger returned again, watching Su Chen's back, and murmured, Miss, she put a top-level martial arts in the armory. I wonder if you can practice it successfully. In fact, Qi Yulinger was still a little confused. She didn't see any special martial arts talent in Su Chen. This way, Su Chen took the key and returned to Xiangsu. He went directly to the location of the armory. He opened the armory. Su Chen began to investigate. However, there was an extra set of martial arts where he found the Xianshan fist yesterday. Su Chen picked up the martial arts and his eyes condensed. The name of the martial arts is Shanzhen Wujin. When he opened it, there were only the first 3 levels. Discover the top level martial arts of Shanman, the first 3 levels of Shanzen Wujin, and reward 2 white lottery cards. Su Chen was stunned when he heard this information. This martial arts was definitely not there yesterday, but it was placed here today, and Qi Yulinger asked him to manage the armory. It is obvious that this martial arts book was specially given to him. After memorizing the first 3 levels of the technique, he put the secret book back on the bookshelf. 2 hours later, Su Chen walked out of the armory. He got another 4 white lottery cards, and now he has 6 white lottery cards in total. He was in a good mood. He returned to his own courtyard. He went into the house and began to practice. This time he practiced the Vajra mixed Yuanjin and the Vajra splitting demon body. Now the speed of external skills and physical body improvement is faster. He swallowed a blood and ki pill into his body and continued to use the Vajra mixed Yuanjin. The ki in his body circulated and the ki flowed, which accelerated the flow of blood in his body, and the rolling blood and ki gushed out of his body. This ki and blood was as hot and boiling as magma. Invisibly, the temperature in his hut was raised a few degrees. The road of cultivation cannot be interrupted. Continue to swallow pills to improve your physical body and ki and blood. As the pills were continuously refined and taken, Su Chen's strength was steadily improving. According to this ki and blood power and physical strength, warriors in the early stage of the spirit refining realm could not break his defense at all. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96 Secret Treasure, Golden Plum Bottle, the first Dharma King Demon Wanji. After a while, Su Chen exhaled lightly. It's still faster to practice physical skills, but the ki and blood pills I bought earlier have been almost used up. I have to buy some more when I have time. Practicing really consumes too many pills. Su Chen looked at the few ki and blood pills in his storage ring and sighed. Then he focused his mind on the 6 white lottery cards. The crisis of lacking masters was temporarily resolved. There was a lack of resource types, and Su Chen was ready to draw these 6 white lottery cards. With a thought, the numbers on the 6 white lottery cards disappeared. Obtained 1 primary reinforcement card, 100 bottles of intermediate ki and blood pills, 30/bottle, 30 bottles of intermediate ki jin pills, 30/bottle, 1 skill infusion card, 30,000 silver. Notes, and 5 years of innate internal strength. He directly integrated the 5 years of innate internal strength into his body. A huge Kijin appeared in the danshin in his body. These Kijin surged out of his body like a tide. The ki was as fierce as the tide, but it did not damage any of Su Chen's meridians, as if it was naturally generated in his body. It seemed that the ki was as fierce as the tide, but it was gentle and elegant. When the ki was fully integrated into his body, his mind moved, and he felt like he had touched some kind of shackles. Boom. The shackles were opened. His consciousness seemed to be opened in an instant, and he could sense the flow of the surrounding air. Refining the spirit, also known as induction, is the ability to sense the energy between heaven and earth. Before refining the spirit, it was to use elixirs and the innate ki produced by oneself. But after refining the spirit, it can sense the energy of heaven and earth, so that it can absorb the power between heaven and earth into the body to help itself practice. In fact, the white lottery card may be more corresponding to my current real practice situation. Su Chen calmed down his excitement. Then he recalled the practice of Shanzen Wujin in his mind. Judging from the appearance of Shanzen Wujin, it should be Mirankingshan of Xiangsuilan. If I want to continue to make money steadily in Shanman, I still need to show it. Therefore, we must first successfully cultivate the first level of the mountain and river true martial power. Perhaps we can use this as an excuse to break through to the refining spirit realm in such a short time. The first level of the mountain and river true martial power. Condensing the true martial power, that is, the black martial power, in the danshin. As long as the black martial power is condensed, the first level will be cultivated. When Su Chen was practicing the mountain and river true martial power, he suddenly found that all the mountain and river ki in his body was rushing towards the danshin. Feed on the mountain and river ki. Su Chen was stunned when he sensed this situation. The most famous skill of the Mountain and River sect is the Mountain and River Ki, but the ki cultivated by the Mountain and River Ki is actually the nourishment of the Mountain and River true martial power. How could Su Chen not be shocked? Outside the courtyard, a figure looked at the courtyard, as if sensing some kind of breath fluctuation. Practice as soon as you come back. Maybe the lady is not wrong about you. This figure is Kaiwei beside Mirren Chen. Suddenly her face changed, because in Su Chen's courtyard, a low roar was faintly heard. With this roar, how could he condense Zen Wu so quickly and cultivate to the first level? This matter needs to be reported to the young lady immediately. Kaiwei flashed and left quickly. Here, Su Chen sensed the changes in the danshan in his body. At this time, a vague shadow appeared in the danshan, which looked like Zuan Wu. Although the shadow was successfully cultivated, all the mountain and river energy in his body was swallowed up. Swallow some Xianshan pills to restore his own energy. Fortunately, I drew some Xianshan pills before, otherwise, it would take a while for my energy to recover. Su Chen shook his head. This should be able to deal with Mirren Chen, and it can also find some excuses for myself to enter the refining god realm. The refining god realm can become an elder disciple in the Shan Gate. But Su Chen has no interest in becoming an ordinary elder disciple of the Shan Gate. After all, the characters he summoned now are all beating these elders, and these elders are not qualified. Of course, if it is a level of the Shan Gate's supreme elder or deputy gate master, Su Chen is still willing. Because in this way, his status in the Shan Gate is high. The chance of willing is greater. On the other side, Kaiwei returned to Xiangsuian. Miss, Su Chen has cultivated the first level of Shan Zen Wujin. Hearing this, Mirren Chen, who had always been calm, moved slightly. It seems that he has practiced Shan Gong more proficiently than we expected. The first level is completed, so the second and third levels will be even easier for him. Wait for a while, and send the fourth level out. If he completes the fourth level, I may go to see the master, and ask the master to accept Su Chen as a disciple. Mirren Chen said. Miss is so optimistic about him. Don't underestimate him. You have read the news from King Cheng. People from the Qin family, the Yang family, and the Yan family died in King Cheng. He should be considered a contact person in the whole thing. He didn't die. This is not something that can be solved by martial arts. Mirren Chen said. Of course, what Mirren Chen didn't know was that these were all solved by force. The main reason was that Su Chen had strong subordinates. By the way, there is news from the capital that the Lingayu sword sect has got the clue of the golden plum bottle. Let me investigate it here. You go and investigate this matter. Mirren said softly. Golden plum bottle. Kaiwei was shocked when she heard this. Miss, how could the Lingayu sword sect have the news of this treasure? Could it be that the people in the capital made a mistake? It should be right. Li Luoshu, the deputy head of the Lingayu sword sect, is in the residence of Prime Minister K in the capital. It is rumored that Prime Minister K personally met him. If there is no special thing, how can Li Luoshu be qualified to be met by Prime Minister K? Mirren Chen said. I understand. Go and investigate immediately. Kaiwei bowed and left. The appearance of the golden plum bottle in Lingnan County will make the already chaotic Lingnan County even more chaotic. Mirren Chen said with a sigh. At this time, in the county city, Beichalfa's portrait and some information were released. Among them was the news that he killed Wu Ming of the Blood Flag sect and Qin Chen of the Qin family. Originally, many people in the prefecture were paying attention to Beichalfa because the one who was going to open the Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower was Beichalfa, but he had never shown up. But now such news appeared, and suddenly the Golden Wind and Drizzle Tower and Beichalfa became famous in the Lingnan prefecture. In the town's hall, Nalan Rangan and Beichalfa stood on a balcony, and in front of them was an artificial waterside pavilion. Mr. Bei, aren't you afraid that someone will deal with you first? Nalan Rangan said. The news was that Beichalfa asked them to let the town's hall out. She didn't quite understand what Beichalfa meant. If someone comes to die, I don't mind sending them off. Beichalfa said calmly. It seems that Mr. Bei has made sufficient preparations. I have a friend here who wants to see you. Nalan Rangan said. Who is it? Zhanayu, the saint of the Hanayu sect. Hearing Nalan Rangan mention Zihanayu, Beichaofu's face showed a slight surprise. The Jinfengxiai Lao of Arking Qing just killed Lu Xiangxing. She wants to see me. Isn't she afraid that I will kill her? Beichaofu said. I don't know what happened. She just said she wants to see you, but I heard from her that the first Dharma King of Hanayu sect is on his way to Lingnan County. Nalan Rangan said. The first Dharma King of Hanayu sect, Mo1G, is coming to Lingnan County. Ling Xian has also been collecting information about Hanayu sect recently, so Beichaofu knows who the first Dharma King of Hanayu sect is. Chapter 97 Yanyu's Plan, The White Bone Mountain Man. Mo1G's strength should be close to the unity of spirit and soul. Nalan Rangan looked at Beichaofu, trying to see a change on Beichaofu's face. But Beichaofu was still very calm. If he attacks, he will die. So there is no need to test me. And Zihanayu wants to see me. I can wait for her here. Beichaofu turned and looked at Nalan Rangan. Nalan Rangan said these words. In fact, she was also testing Beichaofu in the foundation of Jinfengxiayu Tower. Beichaofu didn't like this kind of temptation, so he warned directly. Nalan Rangan was very uneasy at this time. It was mainly because of Beichaofu's words that if Mo1G attacked, he would die. What did Mo1G rely on to travel thousands of miles to Lingnan County alone? It was his own strength and absolute confidence in his own strength. But Beichaofu still said so, after knowing the other party's strength. Calming down his mind, he said, then I will go to inform Zihanayu. Nalan Rangan bowed slightly and left the courtyard. Beichaofu, who was left behind, was somewhat curious. What was Zihanayu's purpose in looking for him? Now, Jinfengxiayu Tower and Hanayu cult can be said to be great enemies. Meeting with the enemy, he was very curious. Another place, Bizen Fusi, Yan Duanshu was listening to the report of his subordinates and looking at the portrait of Beichaofu in his hand, his face solemn. It was unexpected that Beichaofu from Jinfengxiayu Tower killed Qin Qin and Wu Ming, but it was also reasonable. In this case, Beichaofu was also in Qingcheng at that time. Qin Chen and others went to investigate the cause of Qin Xianan's death, which means that the black-clothed man who killed Qin Xianan was related to Jinfengxiayu Tower. From the information sent back from the valley at that time, the black-clothed man might be the one who killed my third brother. In this case, my third brother should have died at the hands of Jinfengxiayu Tower. Thinking of this, the energy in his palm circulated and directly shattered the portrait in his hand. You go down first. Yan Duanshu waved his hand. The visitor bowed and left the room. Yan Duanshu then headed towards the hall. When he arrived at the hall, Yan Yu and Pei Xiangsu were in the hall. Seeing Yan Duanshu coming, Yan Yu said, it seems that you also think that the people from the Golden Wind and Rainy Rain Tower killed your third brother. Yes, from the current news, the death of the third brother is definitely related to the Golden Wind and Rainy Rain Tower. Father, the Golden Wind and Rainy Rain Tower will be opened the day after tomorrow, and ask me to take people to destroy the Golden Wind and Rainy Rain Tower. Yan Duanshu said, things are not as simple as you think. It is not certain who released this news. If you act rashly, you will only become someone else's pawn. Contact the Yang family, the Qin family, and the Blood Flag sect. Aren't they going to open the building? It's just right to give them a big gift. Yan Yu said in a deep voice. Son, I understand here. I will arrange a meeting with them. Yan Duanshu said. Then father, I will go to do this first. Without further delay, he left the hall. He is still so impatient. Going to Tantric Buddhism to practice is also a test of his character. What do you think of the Golden Wind and Rain Tower? After Yan Duanshu left, Yan Yu said to Pei Xiangsu. This Golden Wind and Rain Tower is not simple. Bei Xianyu's strength is beyond my expectations. The forces behind him must be not simple, but now I regret it a little. If I knew that the death of the third young master was related to the Golden Wind and Rain Tower, I should have taken advantage of Bei Xianyu's exhaustion to hit him. Pei Xiangsu said. You didn't expect it, and I didn't expect it either. I don't understand at all that the forces behind the Golden Wind and Rain Tower did this. From the current situation, they want to take root in Lingnan County. But how can they take root if they offend so many forces at once? Yan Yu said in confusion. Maybe they are strong enough, because they are strong. They are unscrupulous. Pei Xiangsu said, after thinking for a moment. He couldn't think of any other reason now. Hearing Pei Xiangsu's words, Yan Yu's eyes condensed. You watch over Du and Shu and let the Yang family test it. There is also a secret report that the first Dharma king of Han Yu sect, Mo1G, is coming to the county government. Maybe he came for Jin Feng's Yu Tower, or maybe for Lu Xiangxing's head. You should send Lu Xiangxing's head to the capital as soon as possible and make my achievements first. Warn our people not to focus on Mo1G and Jin Feng's Yu Tower. Dare to kill my Shua, this revenge must be avenged. How is the medication of Bei Gushan in the dungeon? Yan Yu turned around and asked. There was a cold light in his eyes. The mind has been controlled. If he bursts out with all his strength, his combat power should not be weaker than Mo1G. Sir, maybe we can let him take action to test it. Pei Xiangsu said. Okay, then let Bei Gushan send a big gift to Jin Feng's Yu Tower. Yan Yu said coldly. I will arrange it right away. Pei Xiangsu bowed and left the hall. Su Chen at Shangate didn't know what happened in the county government. He practiced directly for a whole day. At this time, he was holding an ordinary longsword in his hand, preparing to strengthen it to see how much he could strengthen it. As for why he chose an ordinary longsword, the main reason was that he got a primary strengthening card. He used it directly on this ordinary longsword. Strengthening target, ordinary longsword. When the strengthening card disappeared, the ordinary longsword was immediately enveloped by a strange power. Then the longsword seemed to be reforged. After a few breaths, the strange power disappeared, and the strengthening was completed. Su Chen stretched out his hand to check the strengthened ordinary longsword, which exuded a cold light, giving people a very sharp feeling. Of course, it was still a little worse than the Xiao knife on his body, but this sword should be enough for me. I will get a strengthening card later, and then strengthen it, and it should be able to reach the weapon level. Su Chen thought to himself. Then he put the long sword into the scabbard, and put it into the storage ring. Next, continue to practice. Go down the mountain one day later to see if anyone will take action when the Jin Feng's Yu Tower opens. Su Chen was actually still a little excited, because he wanted to use the Liu Shengyajian experience card to see the strength of a strong man who had achieved the unity of man and sword and was close to the unity of spirit and soul. Dung. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside the courtyard. Su Chen walked out of the room and opened the door of the courtyard. Brother Su, this is your letter. There was a messenger at the door. Su Chen didn't know who wrote to him at this time. He opened the letter. It turned out to be a letter from Liu Wumei. Liu Wumei had entered the soul refining realm and became the deputy palace master of Lingnan County Changhan Palace. Let Su Chen have time to meet her. I have entered the soul refining realm. Maybe I should also contact this Changhan Palace to see if I can trigger something. The more wool I can get, the better. Su Chen thought to himself. Decided to go to Lingnan County Changhan Palace when I have time to meet Liu Wumei. Chapter 98. Liu Wumei shows up to clean up the mess. The branch hall of Changhan Palace in Lingnan County. Liu Wumei was half lying on a jade bed, wearing a palace dress that revealed her collarbone and jade legs. She looked extremely attractive. Not far away, third senior brother Lao Wu, who looked at the half-lying Liu Wumei with a hint of admiration in his eyes. Third senior brother, Master sent us a message asking us to investigate Lingayu Sword Sect to see if we can find the whereabouts of the golden plum bottle. What do you think about this matter? Liu Wumei said. This matter is a bit strange. Li Luoshu went to the capital to meet Keijing. I got the news that he was sending the autumn mountain fallen leaves picture to Keijing. Why is the news coming out now? But it is a clue of the golden plum bottle. I always feel that something is a bit strange. Lingnan County has been a bit chaotic recently. If this matter spreads, Lingayu Sword Sect may be besieged. I feel that someone is targeting Lingayu Sword Sect. Lao Wu said in a deep voice. There was a solemn tone in his voice. This has nothing to do with us. We just need to do our own work. If the higher-ups ask us to investigate, we will investigate. Brother, are you going to disobey Master's orders? Liu Wumei looked at Lao Wu and said. Junior sister, how could I disobey Master's orders? I will arrange for someone in Lingayu Sword Sect to investigate. The day after tomorrow, Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower will open. They sent us an invitation letter. Junior sister, will you come with me? Lao woohoo. This Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower has been exposed to so many news, and it is opening with such a big fanfare. Do they have masters coming to take charge? Liu Wumui frowned and said, Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower, we have very little information. Maybe we can wait for Su Chen to come and ask him. He should know some information. After all, he was the one who transferred the position of the owner of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower to Bei Xianyu. Lao Wuhu said. He probably knows about the same as us. This Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower is no longer the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower of King Cheng, and Bei Xianyu is probably just a person who was pushed out. The day after tomorrow, I will go to the opening ceremony of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower with my senior brother, to see what the background of Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower is. Liu Wumui said. Senior brother, if there is nothing else, I will not keep you here. After saying this, Liu Wumui said to Lao Wuhu. This was intended to let Lao Wuhu leave. Lao Wuhu glanced at Liu Wumui, with a trace of nostalgia in his eyes, and said, Junior sister, you should understand what senior brother means. It is a good choice for you and me to be together. Lao Wuhu said. Senior brother, you are not my type. Liu Wumui said directly. Hearing Liu Wumui's words, Lao Wuhu said nothing, turned around and walked out of the hall. Not long after Lao Wuhu walked out of the hall, a figure slowly walked out of the dark. The visitor was wearing a black tights, revealing a bumpy figure, and a veil on his face, revealing a pair of bright eyes. She wore silver wrist guards on her arms, and carried a longbow and quiver on her back. The quiver was filled with arrows. After entering the house, the visitor bowed to Liu Wumui. What is your purpose here? Liu Wumui looked at the visitor, and said in a deep voice. This woman was someone beside her master, and taking action personally meant that there was something to deal with. The master got the news that Lao Wuhu might have betrayed Changhan Palace, so he asked me to come and help you, young lady, to investigate this matter. Once confirmed, I will kill him on the spot. The visitor said. The voice was as clear as an aureole, but it revealed a cold murderous intent. Kill without mercy. The master is still so ruthless. I will investigate this matter first. You go back first. Liu Wumui waved her hand. The master's intention is to let me help you, young lady, complete this matter. The visitor did not leave, but spoke. It seems that the matter has been confirmed, so you stay here first. Liu Wumui said, after thinking for a moment. Yes. After that, the veiled woman disappeared. Looking at the disappearing figure, Liu Wumui frowned slightly. Liu Wumui's master, Gong Nanayan, the left guardian of Changhan, the third person in Changhan Palace, personally sent his people to come, indicating that the facts have been confirmed. Now let her clean up the door, so that she can take over the Lingnan Changhan Palace branch. At this time, outside Changhan Palace, Su Chen took out the waist card that Lao Wuhu gave him before. I want to see your deputy palace master Liu. Su Chen said. The guard outside the palace saw the waist card in Su Chen's hand, which was the waist card of the palace master, and originally wanted to report to the palace master. But he didn't expect that Su Chen actually wanted to see the new deputy palace master. He didn't ask much, and quickly went to the palace, where Liu Wumui was. After a while, the guard returned. Deputy palace master Liu invites you. The guard took Su Chen to Liu Wumui's palace. Deputy Palace Master Liu is in the palace. Please come in. The guard sent Su Chen to the door and turned to leave. Su Chen pushed open the palace door. Inside the palace, Liu Wumui was still half lying, revealing her charming figure. Seeing Su Chen, she walked down from the bed. Su Chen looked at Liu Wumui, who walked down from the bed, and his eyes moved slightly. Liu Wumui looked more charming than when she was in King Cheng before. She had the charm of a mature woman. It seems that you came here after receiving my letter. Aren't you afraid of danger? Liu Wumui looked at Su Chen and said, I have no grudge against you, so what danger can there be? Su Chen said. He now has the Liu Shengyijian experience card in his hand. There may be places in Lingnan Prefecture that he dare not go to, but Changhan Palace is definitely not among them. This time I asked you to come here, mainly about your entry into my Chang'an Palace. Liu Wumui said. Why, have you arranged it for me? Su Chen asked. Su Chen actually didn't care much about Chang'an Palace. What he cared about was the membership of Chang'an Palace. The Chang'an Palace branch hall, like Shanmen, belongs to the top 10 forces in Lingnan Prefecture, but the foundation of the branch hall is a little worse than that of Shanmen. But even if it is a little worse than Shanmen, there must be a library. It is convenient for him to trigger some rewards. Did you offend my third brother somewhere? He has always been pessimistic about you. I tried to fight for your position, but my third brother denied it. But don't worry, after a while, my position in Chang'an Palace will be stable, and I will help you enter Chang'an Palace. Liu Wumui said. Thank you very much, Sister Liu. Su Chen hurriedly thanked her. From the look of you, it seems that you don't care too much. Although Su Chen was thanking her, he could sense that Su Chen didn't care too much about this matter. It's not that I don't care, but some things can't be forced. You asked me to come here, it shouldn't just be about this matter. Su Chen looked at Liu Wumui and said. Of course, I asked you here mainly about Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower. Liu Wumui said. Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower has nothing to do with me. You ask me, I don't know. Su Chen waved his hand. I'm not asking you something. Didn't you trade with Beishaianayu? That means you have met each other. I want you to introduce Beishaianayu to me. Liu Wumui said. Beishaianayu is in Qingcheng. Isn't Bei Chaofei the person in charge of Lingnan Prefecture? Can't you contact him directly? Su Chen asked in confusion. Bei Chaofei is a very arrogant and ruthless person. It's better not to deal with him if you can. Liu Wumui said. If Jinfeng Xiailai opens in the prefecture this time and Beishaianayu shows up, I will definitely introduce him to you. Su Chen nodded. Chapter 99, Chang'an Palace, Wool Pulling. Helping Liu Wumui contact Beishaianayu was just a word from Su Chen. Why not? What's more, Chang'an Palace has an extraordinary background. If they can cooperate with Jinfeng Xiailao, it would be a good thing for Jinfeng Xiailao. Jinfeng Xiailao only does intelligence work for the time being, but it will definitely need to expand its business in the future. General intelligence agencies can do assassin business. It's just that Su Chen is considering whether to separate the assassin business from Jinfeng Xiailao. Perhaps one bright and one dark is the most appropriate. As for the power behind Jinfeng Xiailao, Su Chen has already wanted to name it Xianaya Pavilion. Xianaya, the edge of the sky, an untouchable existence. This Jinfeng Xiailao is not simple. You still have to keep in touch with the other party, so that it will be helpful to you in the future. How is your strength now? Liu Wumui asked afterwards. I practiced Shanzhen Wujin, and entered the early stage of refining the spirit. Su Chen said at this time. Speaking of Shanzhen Wujin, in fact, he mainly wanted to know the origin of Shanzhen Wujin from Liu Wumui. What, you practiced the mountain river true martial power? Hearing Su Chen's words, Liu Wumui was stunned, and then showed a look of surprise. Is there any problem? Seeing the other party's surprised expression, Su Chen couldn't help asking. The mountain river true martial power, but only the true disciples of the mountain river sect can practice it. You have become a true disciple of the mountain river sect. Liu Wumui's tone was a little surprised, but also relieved. It is not an exaggeration for Su Chen's strength to become a true disciple of the mountain river sect. True disciple. Su Chen's heart moved. He thought Miran Qingchen wanted to accept him as a disciple before. Unexpectedly, this mountain river true martial power can only be practiced by true disciples. Miran Qingchen can't give it to true disciples. Miran Qingchen, do you have any plans? He thought to himself. By the way, you came here with my senior brother's badge. This is my badge. I give it to you. With this token, you can come to me at any time. By the way, you can't enter Chang'an Palace for the time being, but with this badge, you can accept my Chang'an Palace's mission. There are many treasures and secret books in my Chang'an Palace. Liu Wumui said. I'm interested in some ancient secret book fragments. I wonder if you can help me find some. Su Chen said. Someone is willing to give away incomplete secret books, and everyone will keep normal secret books. Incomplete secret books. This thing can't be practiced randomly, it will cause harm to the body. Hearing this, Liu Wumui hurriedly said, I'm just studying. I won't practice if I'm not sure. Su Chen said, in that case, I really have a few incomplete secret books. Come with me. Liu Wumui took Su Chen to the secret room behind the palace. Another place. In Lao Wuhu's palace. You mean someone took my badge to see Deputy Palace Master Liu? Who is this person? Lao Wuhu looked at the person in front of him and said, I don't know the details, but he looks very young. He should be very familiar with Deputy Palace Master Liu. The person in front of him said, very young. Today, my junior sister wrote a letter to Su Chen of Shan Gate. It seems that Su Chen came here. I know. You can go down. Lao Wuhu waved his hand. The man bowed and left the hall. Junior sister, you are very close to Su Chen. Do you have a crush on this kid? When Lao Wuhu spoke, a sharp murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He didn't care about Su Chen before, but a few days ago, the two had a dispute over Su Chen's entry into Changhan Palace. Liu Wumui cared too much about Su Chen. It made him feel like there was an extra nail in his heart. If there is a nail, it must be removed. Wait until I attend the opening ceremony of Jinfeng Xiu Tower, and then send someone to deal with him. Lao Wuhu murmured. Then he stepped out of the palace. The news from the capital of Changhan Palace was a bit tricky, and he needed to meet someone. At this time, Su Chen was taken into a secret room by Liu Wumui. These are all your sister's treasures. I'll give you whichever one you like. Liu Wumui pointed to a box not far away and said. Su Chen was not polite. He opened the box directly. Inside the box were 2 incomplete books, 2 normal books, several blueprints, and some treasures. Su Chen looked at a treasure that looked like a blue pearl. There were some blue ripples on the blue pearl, just like waves. Su Chen grabbed the bead in his hand and sensed a strong water vapor. Holding the bead, he could clearly sense the changes in the water vapor and the spiritual energy of the surrounding heaven and earth. Discover ordinary level water beads and reward 2 white lottery cards. Su Chen was stunned, and his eyes showed surprise. He didn't expect this to work. Thinking of this, Su Chen suddenly felt that his path was a bit narrow. There is a black market in the county government, where everything is available. Of course, killing and robbing is also a common thing. But if he just looks and doesn't buy, he can make a fortune quietly. Do you like this bead? If you like it, I'll give it to you. Liu Wumui looked at Su Chen holding the bead in a daze, and couldn't help but say, no, this is not very useful to me. Then Su Chen looked for other books, but didn't trigger them. Finally, his eyes fell on the 4 incomplete secret books. Picked up a complete secret book. 6 Yin Absolute Meridian Hand. Didn't trigger. 9 Nether Tongming Sutra. Discover the ultimate martial arts. 9 Nether Tongming Sutra. Reward 3 white lottery cards. Note, 9 Nether Body Can Practice. Still have requirements for martial arts? This is the first note when the system is triggered. Finally, his eyes fell on 2 incomplete secret books. One of them has only 1 word, Ming, on the cover. The other has only 2 words, Zong Mo. First, open the secret book with the word Ming to check. The handwriting inside is blurred, incomplete, and a bit messy. There is also a picture of a half person sitting cross-legged in meditation. There is a route for the flow of internal energy in the body, but there is only 1 point. It is almost impossible to rely on this to comprehend the route of the flow of energy. Found an incomplete secret book, Northern Divine Art. Reward 1 white lottery card. I didn't expect that this secret book corresponds to the Northern Divine Art. It's a pity that it's incomplete. Picked up another one. This one is the same as the previous one, and it can't be seen clearly. Found an incomplete copy of Xian'an's Hang Mojin. Reward 1 white lottery card. This time I rewarded another one. It seems to be related to the degree of incompleteness of the secret book. Putting down the secret book, looking at Liu Wumui and said, you are collecting it, even though it is so broken, and the handwriting is not clear at all. It's not clear, but someone is willing to spend a lot of money to buy it from your sister? Liu Wumui said. But you have seen so many, don't you have any choice? Then Liu Wumui looked at Su Chen and said, I'm just curious about these things. If you have any treasures later, let me see them. Just take a look. Su Chen said softly, this is for you. It will help you practice the Shan Gong of Shanman. Liu Wumui placed the blue water bead that Su Chen had seen before in Su Chen's hand. Mountains and rivers, mountains and rivers, rivers and streams. The method of cultivation involves rivers, and this water bead is indeed useful for his cultivation. Thank you very much, Sister Liu. Su Chen put the bead in his arms and thanked her. Chapter 100, Jinfengxiayu Tower. Do not accept threats. No need to be so polite to me. By the way, you'd better not contact Lao Wuhu. Liu Wumui said. Then she walked to a jade box not far away and brought it to Su Chen. Here is a 9-turn blood ginseng from the year before last. It will help you practice the physical body technique. While speaking, she put the jade box in Su Chen's hand. Su Chen took the jade box and opened it. A bright red blood ginseng appeared in front of him, and suddenly a strong blood energy gushed out of the jade box. Su Chen took a breath, and immediately felt a huge amount of blood energy being sucked into his body. The blood energy in his body actually slowly increased a little. Awesome. Su Chen secretly praised. Then he looked at the blood ginseng. There were 9 knots on the blood ginseng. Perhaps this is why it is called the 9-turn blood ginseng. Put it away quickly. Don't let the blood energy dissipate. Liu Wumui said. Su Chen put away the jade box, looked at Liu Wumui and said, I suddenly found that I'm more suitable for eating soft rice. Liu Wumui didn't know the meaning of this soft rice, but she understood the meaning of Su Chen's words. If you want to eat soft rice, it depends on your capital. When speaking, Liu Wumui's collarbone trembled involuntarily, white as jade, coupled with the seductive expression on her face. It makes people feel an impulse. Su Chen hurriedly suppressed this impulse. Although he had contact with Liu Wumui, he should not have reached this stage yet. With this, my physical body will definitely go further. I will go back to practice first. Su Chen hurriedly said. Okay. Liu Wumui nodded. Su Chen said goodbye and left. After sending Su Chen away, Liu Wumui murmured, the strength has reached the soul refining realm, and the previous practice of the heart sutra of the Kiesel woman has also been improved. But why did the love seed grow on Su Chen? Is it because he saved me? Liu Wumui was a little confused. But this feeling is not bad. But if third senior brother knows about it, he might attack Su Chen. It seems that I have to investigate third senior brother as soon as possible. Liu Wumui thought to himself. After Su Chen left Changhan Palace, he went to the pawn shop and bought an independent courtyard from the pawn shop. The courtyard is not big, a simple courtyard with 2 houses. He spent money to ask the people from the pawn shop to help buy some furniture and daily necessities. The day after tomorrow is the opening of Jinfengxiayu Tower. He did not plan to return to Shanmen, so he practiced here. After the arrangement was completed, it was almost dusk. Su Chen had a simple meal outside and returned to the courtyard. He took out the jade box he got from Liu Wumui from his arms. He opened it directly, grabbed the 9-turn blood ginseng in his hand, and ate a section of it in one bite. Suddenly, the rolling blood rushed into his body from his mouth like a tide, making his body begin to turn red. Feeling the turmoil of blood in his body, Su Chen directly began to practice the Vajrahunio engine, and began to refine the blood and medicinal power that rushed into his body. The power of one section is limited. It was quickly absorbed by Su Chen, and he did not hesitate to swallow the remaining 8 sections in one gulp. Now his Vajrahunio engine has been cultivated to the 2nd stage. He is cultivating his flesh and blood. This blood ginseng is of great help to him. The powerful blood and ki, like a surging flood, enters his flesh and blood under the guidance of Su Chen, tempering his flesh and blood, and deriving more blood and ki. The powerful blood and ki medicinal power is constantly absorbed under the operation of Vajrahunio engine. The 2nd stage of Vajrahunio engine cultivation is evolving rapidly. Su Chen feels that, after consuming this 9-turn blood ginseng, his Vajrahunio engine can be cultivated to the 2nd stage. The physical strength itself is comparable to the middle stage of the soul refining. Once the 2nd stage is completed, the peak of the late stage of the soul refining can compete. Su Chen suppressed the surprise in his heart and continued to temper. On the other side, Tian's hall. In the hall, Nalan Yanran and Bei Chaofei are talking in the hall. Zihan Yu, dressed in black, walked in from outside. Hello, Mr. Bei. Zihan Yu saluted slightly to Bei Chaofei. I wonder what the saint wants to talk to Bei about. I heard that the first Dharma king of your Hanyu sect is on his way to the county government and is ready to take action when my Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower opens. Bei Chaofei looked at Zihanyu and said. When he spoke, a fierce pressure emanated from his body. Zihanyu trembled slightly under this pressure, but still withstood the pressure released by Bei Chaofei. Mr. Bei, I came here mainly to make a deal with Mr. Bei on behalf of Hanyu sect. Trade? Bei Chaofei frowned slightly. This Zihanyu came to him to make a deal. I want you Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower to help me kill Yanyu of the Northern Pacification Division. What? Kill Yanyu? Zihanyu, are you crazy? Before Zihanyu finished speaking, Nalan Rangan said in a lost voice. You are so loud. Do you want everyone to know? Zihanyu glanced at Nalan Rangan and then looked at Bei Chaofei. The one who killed Yanshu should be someone from your Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower. You have already made enemies with Yanyu of the Northern Pacification Division. If you don't kill him, he will attack you. As long as your Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower secretly helps us kill him, then the hatred between Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower and Hanyu sect will be written off. Zihanyu looked at Bei Chaofei and said. I think this is not a deal, but a threat. Bei Chaofei's face turned gloomy when he said this. How could the grudges in the martial arts world be written off? What's more, Bei Chaofei felt that the other party was not making a deal, but a threat. Mr. Bei, this is the sincerity of our Hanyu sect. I think your Jinfeng Xiaoyu tower doesn't want to be hostile to our Hanyu sect. Zihanyu looked at Bei Chaofei and said. You threaten me like this, aren't you afraid that I will kill you with one palm? Bei Chaofei did not answer the other party's words, but looked at the other party coldly. I believe that Mr. Bei, as the owner of the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower in Lingnan County, has the generosity to tolerate a little girl. Moreover, I came here on behalf of the Hanyu sect, and I just want to convey the meaning of the Hanyu sect to Mr. Bei. Zihanyu said. At this time, she thought that the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower should agree to their proposal. Otherwise, the Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower would have to face the attack of their Hanyu sect. My Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower does not accept any threats. I will not kill you today, but next time we meet, I hope you can dodge my finger. Bei Chaofei snorted coldly. He said to Nalan Rangan, the day after tomorrow, our Jinfeng Xiaoyu Tower will open. See you. After that, he turned and left. He ignored Zihanyu. Looking at Bei Chaofei's leaving figure, Zihanyu frowned slightly and said to Nalan Rangan, you didn't tell him that the first Dharma king of my sect came. Hearing her bestie say this, Nalan Rangan showed a slightly angry expression on her face. Zihanyu, so you are planning here. I told him about the arrival of Imo Wanji, but it seems that he doesn't care at all. He is the first Dharma king of your Hanyu sect. When the building was opened, it was not only my Hanyu sect that took action. I heard that Yanyu was going to use the living dead this time. Zihanyu said. Living dead. Hearing this, Nalan Rangan's eyes condensed. You should talk to Bei Chaofei and tell him that cooperating with our Hanyu sect is in their best interests. After saying this, Zihanyu put on her cloak and turned away. Thank you Wang Yunkeo for the reward of 10,000 starting coins. Thank you Gudu Hongcheng for the reward of 5,000 starting coins. Thank you Mo Ranela Yunnan Feng Yishi for the reward of 100 starting coins. Thank you Wu Yuzi for the reward of 100 starting coins. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.